What is going on, everybody? It is episode 322 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. I am here with my special guest co-host for the day. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, I'm Hannah Claire Brimlow. I'm a writer for TimCast.com, an occasional sub on Pop Culture Crisis.
Yes, you are. You are here because Mary appeared on the Whatever podcast yesterday, and she is in the process of traveling back right now. So she did very, very well from what I've been told. She, put those OnlyFans girls and those modern women to shame. I have no doubt whatsoever. It is what it is.
Have you watched it yet?
I haven't had the chance to watch it yet. I will probably look. It's been a very busy day for me. I was up at 7. I was up at 6:30 and had to go to an appointment. Didn't get back from that until 12 or 12:15. Had to get everything ready. So it's like I'm flying by the seat of my pants here today.
You're a mom with a busy carpool schedule right now. Just go.
The banks may be failing, but we're not going to leave you behind here right now. We're not.
Oh my gosh, what a strange economic joke.
Wasn't that fantastic?
You and your topical references. You so and so.
That is me. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about. We got some super chats already, so a bunch of stuff got covered up here. We are going to talk a little bit about Scream 6. We're not going to be reviewing Scream 6. I want to talk about Hollywood and the media apparatus that finds a way to continually make it seem like everything is okay by did you ever see that picture of Bill Gates, him holding the book How to Lie with Numbers?
I've never seen that.
There's a photo of that. It might be photoshopped, but I think it's real. But How to Lie with Numbers. So we're going to talk about the box office for Scream 6 and all the headlines that are claiming that it is the biggest debut of any of the movies. Therefore, it was okay to get rid of Neve Campbell, which, by the way, it wasn't. We are going to be talking about TikTok and the fact that they are now going to be offering premium content on there because Nightmare Fuel, it's a man-made horrors beyond your comprehension, right? Agreed?
TikTok is the center of the universe, and we're all just learning how to deal with it.
Yep, exactly. So we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about an actor named Lucas Gage, who he's facing a unique circumstance in Hollywood right now that someone like Harry Styles is going through. And that's essentially that it used to be back in the day, if you were straight, or if you were gay, you hid that you were gay to be an actor. Nowadays, it's actually professionally advantageous to be a member of the LGBTQIA community. But what do you do if you're taking LGBTQIA roles and you're not gay? Well, you don't acknowledge that you're not gay. You just say, I could be, I might be, maybe. Oh, I'll let you know later. So people have a problem with the ambiguity of that. So we'll be talking about that. And also we are going to get into a little bit about de-aging in Hollywood that is becoming more and more common these days. Not just de-aging, but there's also conversations about when are they going to be bringing back more actors that have already passed on, which is just nightmare fuel in and of itself. So if you are ready, Hannah Claire, we can just get right into it. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Oh, actually, you know what we should do before we even get started? We should read the first super chat from Francisco Sanchez Jr. Because, guys, what we will do, we will continue to read all $20 super chats on the spot. We will not put them off to the super chat segments, which go on between all of the main topics. Also, before we get started, could you hit the like button? Could you subscribe to this channel if you have not done so already? It helps us out greatly. And turn on ding the notification bell, as the YouTubers always say. Ding the notification bell. I don't know what that actually sounds like, but it goes ding. So you made a funny face there.
Oh, nothing. I'm good.
All right.
It's just the way my face looks, Brad. I don't know what to tell you.
It was good. All right, we're going to get started, guys. So there is, in fact, a Little Mermaid trailer that came out. Thank you. A Little Mermaid trailer that came out yesterday for the Oscars. Did you watch it? Did you get a chance to watch it?
I watched part of it. The thing is, I'm going to sound really mean here. This thing kind of creeps me out. Like, the thing about the classic animated Disney is that it's delightful and, cheerful. And it's got bright colors and there's some fun music. This seems like not emo enough to be, an artsy, dark film. And also not cheerful enough to kind of rival the sentimentality that the original Little Mermaid provokes. I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah, it's funny because the one positive I had was that they did at least improve the color grading a bit, meaning that the drab of the ocean makes sense. It's deep, it's dark. That makes perfect sense to me, which they contrast with her brightly colored fin and her top, which I thought was fine, right? And my biggest complaint, first of all, why is her dad white?
I don't know. Nothing makes sense.
I had to double check. I was like, King Tut, that's her dad, right? I was like, okay, I guess she's mixed race. Fine, whatever. I'm past caring about that stuff now. Halle Bailey is at her best when she is singing, not when she is acting.
Yeah.
When she's performing in this trailer, she sounds great.
Yeah.
And she kind of she has a glow about her when she's hitting those notes on screen. Granted, it's the typical Disney manipulative, like high music, music like that. Not as manipulative as like a Pixar movie, but it's manipulative in its own way.
I mean, it is reminiscent of the original film, which I think
Yes,
is good.
exactly.
And it is so many girls, especially her age, my age, like grew up with that music. It's kind of iconic. And I'm sure if you are a singer, like that's where you're trying to make your money in Hollywood, this would be an amazing role.
Yeah.
But it does go to say, like, not everyone is a double threat, so to speak. Like, maybe acting is not her strong suit, and unfortunately, it just seems, I don't know. This doesn't like super attract me to it. I don't really understand, like, with The Lion King and all of these Disney live actions, why they're necessary. But as you know, I'm a proponent of like creativity is dead, and they're just like remixing stuff that's already been successful.
I will point out, guys, that I do have it pulled up here. I was curious after we did Peter Pan and Wendy, and we talked about the brutal ratio that they got on there on the like to dislike ratio. Well, we are seeing something similar here. I'm going to pause this before we get copyrighted. 81,000 upvotes to 329,000 downvotes.
Yeah.
And just like the Peter Pan and Wendy trailer, they are trolling the comment section with very, very much the same joke that they were pulling before. Here it says, I like the part where Sebastian said, "May the force be with you." I cried a river. They do that through the whole comment section.
That's awesome.
My favorite was one saying, I like the part where Ariel says, "Get to the choppa" from Predator.
They're like, we're just gonna have fun here. You guys can leave.
Yes. So, people are going to vote with their wallet. Hopefully, this one is going to be held to a higher standard too, because this one's getting a theatrical release. Unlike Peter Pan and Wendy is going straight to Disney Plus. This one, you're actually going to be able to follow the box office and figure out whether people are actually going to support this movie or not.
I just don't know who wants this. Like, what is the target audience, right? Yeah. Like, it's not so reminiscent of the original that it's just gonna totally trade on nostalgia, and it's not a unique story, so it's not like you're gonna capture, I don't know, mermaid fans out there, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is an adaptation of a Hans Christian Andersen story, and that's what it was originally from Disney, and obviously Disney made it much nicer than Hans Christian Andersen
As they do with all their stories.
Fair enough. They did market it for children. But then, like, are there no other mermaid stories in the world that we could tell if we had to, like, expand our mermaid content? Like, I've done more for Halle Bailey, who's gonna, like, always be compared to the animated version of Ariel.
Yeah,
who
absolutely.
is amazing.
It's I think it makes money, breaks even, does fine. I think that maybe in the chat somebody can point out, have any of the Disney live action remakes lost money? I don't think so. I think the sheer brunt force of the name value that these old stories have is enough to at least get the millennials to come out, if not with their kids.
Yeah.
So they'll show up.
That's the thing about this. I wouldn't turn this on for like small children because it looks too dark. It looks too scary.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I mean, especially like, it's just the color, and like if you were to be like, oh, I'm gonna put on a movie for my kids before bedtime, like you don't want to put on something that's like terrifying for them. Even like the hard scenes in any animated movie, I think all like babysitters, parents, caregivers, older siblings like have a moment where they're like, are you gonna actually freak out? Like, is this gonna be okay? Like, think of like the scene in Bambi where like the mom dies. Like,
think they'll ever remake Bambi?
I mean, only if they do it with live deer. If they remake Bambi with live deer, I'm 110% in. But other than that, I don't want them to.
I'm almost positive, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, there is a black mermaid that's partially or deaf or something like that, right? That does sign language. I could be misremembering.
I don't know that story, but that would sound like a really interesting.
Yeah, I know.
Is that like in the animated version?
Yeah. I'm not the target audience for this. This is princess
feel like,
stuff's not for me.
What? I thought you were a huge Disney princess fan.
Believe it or not, no.
Which Disney princess are you, Brett? Just if you had to guess.
I'm whoever the one from Frozen is. How about that?
Wait, Elsa, where she wants to sit.
I'm Elsa.
with the ice cat.
I'm in my Elsa era.
You're in your Elsa era. Oh my gosh.
There's an intro scene in this where Ariel, like where she's on the beach, that's very reminiscent of the beginning of Wonder Woman, of the first Wonder Woman movie. So I don't know if they pulled that from that. I just feel
or are we all like thinking the same thing, right? We're like, the beach, so this is how it has to be set. Like, I really feel like if we're going to rip off, like this is like reimagining something that was already reimagined from original content, right? Like the story from Hans Christian Andersen is original, and then Disney made it, and then they're making a new version of it. Like there has to be other source material that we can adapt to modern times that would be more interesting. And maybe I am just being a stickler, and everyone's gonna say, but it makes money, and I understand. I can't argue with that, but it just doesn't seem like we're really encouraging people to know more about the world, right? Like having a biracial Ariel, maybe that's good, but wouldn't it be better if it was a story that came from an African culture that was about
and
you know what I'm saying? Like,
and it would cut down on the backlash. People wouldn't care.
And you would be introducing people to maybe a part of culture that they're not aware of, especially global culture. Like these seem like they're things that we're supposed to be doing, but instead we're like, no, we'll just kind of take a lazy way out.
Also, wait, is a mermaid it's not technically a person, is it an animal? Because if not, we could make Cocaine Mermaid. Like if we're gonna make cocaine,
mermaid, she's just like Paris Hilton with a fishtail.
I'm
like,
telling you,
just hanging out in the club.
Cocaine Mermaid is just her doing lines off of a rock on the bottom of the ocean floor.
How would you do that though? Like, doesn't it like dissolve?
No,
they can't take it out of the bag because it just goes everywhere.
She'll have like a special nasal delivery system. And we can have just cocaine influencer mermaid girl. That one I would watch.
Isn't there
that one I would watch?
Is it dolphins who do like a? They eat some like maybe puffer fish.
Maybe.
There's some larger fish mammal thing in the ocean. I'm obviously good at oceanology right now, but like they eat something that secretes poison, but for the dolphin it makes them basically high. So they eat it to like feel like kind of, I don't know, whatever, groovy,
I'm down.
whatever the kids say these days.
Dude, I'm down. Like I said, all we have to do, they're making all of these movies. Somebody in the chat just called me a Bernie bro. I'm
he's a Bolton bro only. Don't you see that mustache?
Yes, Bolton bros, of course.
When historians look back and they're like, where did this thing their Bolton bros have mustaches come from? It's going to be this company.
We're starting a movement here.
and Bolton bros support Elsa always.
Oh yeah, I actually didn't put a whole lot of thought into that. What if I had a favorite Disney princess? What would that be? I have no clue.
You didn't hesitate. You were like right off the bat.
First one that came to mind.
I will say, I think we should take a BuzzFeed quiz. You know, what Disney princess am I based on the waffles that I like or whatever.
Because Maleficent is not a princess, right?
She's like a villain. Like
it
would be, what's the one in Ariel? Who's underwater?
Wait, no, never mind. I'm changing my answer. Jasmine.
Ooh.
I'm going with Jasmine.
Because she has a tiger?
Yes.
Why are you Jasmine instead of Elsa?
Because she's the hottest of all of them.
And you're the hottest.
Yes,
I get it. Okay.
Exactly.
I'm loving this confidence, Brett.
All right. We got two $20 ones. Let's read the one at the top first if you want to go from Francisco Sanchez Jr.
Okay.
Thank you.
It says, sorry, I'm new to this culture. I say, no way, I was going to super chat, whatever. Mary and the woman with the tattoo. Oh, am I reading this backwards?
Nope, you're good.
With the woman with the tattoos went in hard on those other women, and it's a fire emoji.
Look, I can't wait to talk to Mary tomorrow on the show about, like, I just know it was probably cathartic for her to just yell at a bunch of just responsibility averse women that just don't want to take any type of responsibility for their actions. So it's gonna be funny if she's gonna come back like lighter, like, I'm in such a better mood.
Maybe she'll just be addicted. She's like, I gotta go back. I've got more to say.
She's like, Brett, be a bad person so I can yell at you about it.
Andrew Jacob says.
Oh no, we want to read the one from Steve Ryman.
Oh,
just the $20 ones.
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
He says. Steve Ryman says. I'm sorry. I have to adjust my sheet really quickly. Give me a second.
Okay.
He says a pirate. History relates was scuffing with some of his mates. He slipped on his cutlass. I feel like this is going to end badly for me, which rendered him without peanuts, practically useless on dates. The hardest part is finding out which words I have to edit.
See, yeah, we're like when we do
Just
this.
for my own puritanical standards here, Steve.
Dullclick asks where did Mary go? Mary is currently traveling. She will be back tomorrow. She's on her way back. The whatever podcast is live, so she's got back today. She's got other stuff going on, so she will be back tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay. Well. Should we keep talking about Little Mermaid?
No. We're gonna. I think is there anything else? Was there anything that you liked about it? Like, I always try. Like, here's the thing. I try to look for at least one thing that I like in anything. Because otherwise it becomes dour.
I mean, I
and
think
doom and gloom all the time.
we kind of talked about it. Like, I think she's a good singer, and I would be willing to see her in other things. It's not her fault that I think this is a bad project.
Yeah.
That doesn't make Halle Bailey less talented.
Yeah,
You
no,
know
of
what I
course
mean?
not. And listen, they set these actresses up to fail, these actors and actresses up to fail by putting them in these roles. I just watched Luther, The Fallen Son, and I didn't like the movie, but the one thing I love about it is Idris Elba as Luther, because he is that character. He embodies that character because he is the person that played it from the beginning. I wouldn't want Jake Gyllenhaal playing Luther, or I guess whatever British act. I wouldn't want Hugh Laurie playing Luther. And it's one of the most annoying things about Hollywood and about the Hollywood press is the way that they dumb down every argument to racism, sexism, homophobia, blah, 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 blah. They don't give people enough credit. And they don't give the art that's created enough credit. When you make it seem like the only reason somebody could possibly not want to see something change is because they're just a cross-burning weirdo, then you discredit how important the work was from the person who did it first, right? So it would do, like, if we were to be in Bizarro World and they were making a white version of Luther and people were complaining about this and then saying, look, I don't want a white version of Luther, even though they were going to do it. And the media was saying they're only doing that because they're racist. That's not fair to Idris Elba.
Yeah.
It's not fair to the writers who hired him or who wrote that character, and the directors and the creator of the show who brought the character to life. So it's a low IQ argument that kind of makes everyone involved look bad, and it does a disservice to the art. So,
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. The Grammys. The Oscars were last night, ladies and gentlemen. Did you know? Did anybody know?
I only find out these things as they're happening.
Yes.
Right? I start seeing the headlines and they're like, look at this outfit from the red carpet. I'm like, oh, when was that? And they're like, right now.
It's going on right now. There's a couple of great memes. It's like me in my pajamas judging women's gowns for an award show I will never watch.
Yeah.
So a bunch of stuff happened in which Hugh Grant gave the greatest interview in the history of the Oscars.
It made me like him more. Like, I was already like, yeah, he's a pretty cool guy. And now I'm like, yes, excellent.
Yep. Let's see if we can watch I had it pulled up here. Let's just watch the clip.
I forced Brett to use Chris Bertman's link. Chris Bertman's one of the journalists at timcast.com.
So we've got this one here. This is Hugh Grant appears apathetic during pre-Oscars interview. That could just be the British in him.
Well, because you had sent me one that was like, he looks like a jerk or like, whatever. And then Chris wrote this article and he picked apathetic to be his word. And it just goes to show you, like, they want him to be the enemy because he didn't play along in this interview.
Exactly. Here we go.
Of the Oscars, and you've been here a few times. What's your favorite
He looks
thing about coming
standoffish.
to the Oscars?
It's fascinating. The whole of humanity is here. It's Vanity Fair.
Oh, it's all about Vanity Fair. Yes, that's where we.
This poor interview lady too.
Well, no, she says they're like, we like cut loose and have fun. Like, she does not get the reference at all.
Yeah, well, I know that you probably watched a few of the movies. Are you excited to see anybody win? Do you have your hopes up for anyone?
No.
Okay, well, what are you wearing tonight then?
Just my suit.
Your suit? Who made your suit? You didn't make it.
I can't remember my tailor.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Shout out to the tailor.
Yeah.
So tell me,
She's so
what does it
uncomfortable.
feel like to be in Glass Onion? It was such an amazing film. I really loved it. I love a thriller.
I'm getting secondhand
How fun is it
uncomfortable for her.
to shoot something like that?
Well, I'm barely in it. I'm in it for about 3 seconds.
Yeah, but
This is a fair
you showed
point.
up and you had fun, right?
Almost.
Okay, all right. Okay. Well, thank you so much. It was nice to talk to you.
Yeah.
All right.
He's like, yeah. not same to you.
Even the outro was apathetic. Like he didn't even like pick up for the outro.
Look, the thing is, so this is Ashley Graham, who's like a Sports Illustrated model, right?
Yeah, I know. She was their first idea of plus size,
Yeah,
right? Plus,
and I think what is important to acknowledge here is she appears to only be used to interviewing people who actively want to be interviewed and in the limelight, right? Like she's asking him these questions, which I'm sure if she came up with them on her own, fine, I guess she's seen other people interview people.
I highly doubt she
whoever
came
her
up with the
publicist
questions.
is who booked this event for her was like, here are things you should ask them.
Yeah.
But she can't draw him out in any other way. When he says like, it's like Vanity Fair, she's like, yeah, it's so fun here. And he's like calling them vapid and like strategic social climbers, and she's like, I know, right? Great times. Like, she misses it completely. I wish that she would have pushed him on that comment because it would have been really interesting. But instead, she's like, so who are you wearing?
Well, I mean, she's not going for deep. She's going for vapid. She's going for surface level questions.
Sure, but when you have the opportunity, like, you should ask something interesting.
Yeah.
And I feel like she missed an opportunity, probably because she doesn't want to be stirred up in any controversy, except she is like, who are you rooting for? Who do you like here? Like, why do you think he cares about this at all? Like, it just seems like someone should have prepped this girl better.
I feel a little bit bad for her in a way. Like you're gonna have to deal with Hugh Grant, who's clearly the British in him, makes it harder for him to be vapid and self-obsessed with us Americans.
I think it's worth congratulating him on not willing to give into this. Like, he doesn't like these questions, and he doesn't have to play ball and be like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for asking me who made my suit. Thank you so much for acknowledging that I was in Glass Onions through a microphone that was like someone whispered to you, this is what he was in. Like, I think these red carpet interviews, there's a part of me that is actually like, it is kind of interesting to see fashion and to see the way designers dress people. And so the like, who are you wearing question doesn't have to be terrible, right? But like, read the room here, Ashley. Hugh Grant is not interested in these surface level questions.
Even
So either
his body
go
language
deep or let him go. You know what I mean?
Even his body language screamed that he wanted to get out of there. I like when they do the guy who does the sweeping camera shots.
Yeah, that's cool.
The slow motion camera shots guy. Like he's like the happiest guy there. He's like, oh, it's so nice to meet you. Like, it's very, very like Hollywood-esque and very, very surface level. But I enjoyed those.
Well, and I think
those
probably
compilations.
a lot of the people who do those are excited because it's new and different. Like that sweeping angle, like they benefit from it. They get a little bit more of unique content. It's kind of a dramatic moment, and then they don't have to answer, so who do you want to win? Like, what is he gonna say? I really want this person to win because the other guy is like sleeping with my ex-girlfriend or something. You know what I mean? Like, all of this
I was in a movie with this other guy and he's a jerk.
He's a jerk, so I don't.
I
hope Glass Onion loses because they paid me to be in it, and then they cut all my seat. Like, whatever it is, I'm not saying that's his point, but like, come on, Ashley.
I love it. Like, a little bit of honesty in Hollywood is a little bit bracing.
Yeah.
So, also Angela Bassett could not hide her displeasure with not winning, which I appreciate
It is
too.
so funny.
I can appreciate that too. I can appreciate a sore loser because they're all probably sore losers behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But I can appreciate like a sore loser in front.
Yeah.
Like somebody who's just not willing to put on a fake face.
And I would have never heard about this award, I'm sure. I guess it is Best Supporting Actress, so it's somewhat of a big deal. But now it's like, this is the moment about the story. I don't even know who won it. I just know that this girl was upset
Jamie Lee Curtis won it.
Oh, yeah, and she's never won one before, right?
So it's probably because of racism. It's probably because of racism.
I don't know.
They'll say
Or
it's
should
because
the
of
other girl's
racism.
just, Jamie Lee Curtis is older. Like, she doesn't have
Yes.
as many options as this younger actress does.
I wonder if we can play this. If we can play the clip of this,
And the Oscar goes to
her face.
Jamie Lee.
Who looks like she gets electrocuted.
Just stone-faced, ladies and gentlemen, stone-faced. She has.
Jamie Lee Curtis made her big screen debut.
She wants no part of this. So look, I can appreciate it. I can appreciate somebody who's just like, look, I wanted to win.
Yeah.
I didn't want you to win. I
Yeah.
deserve to win.
Well, the Friends joke about this, right? Like, Matthew Perry, his character's like Joey or whatever, and he is a soap star, like a soap actor, and they're going to some awards, and Jennifer Aniston's character is like, so you have to practice your gracious loser face. Like, so when the camera pans to you, like, you applaud and you like, too bad, but good for you, whatever. And so he practices, but then when he actually does lose, he's like, what is this? You can see him. She's like trying to get him to stop. Like, I feel like that's what she made a decision to be unhappy about it.
Here's a story. I once I was at a competition, and like I ended up placing 5th, but didn't really think I skated that well.
Okay.
So I was like, really? And like
Oh, you felt like 5th wasn't justified. You should have been lower.
I should have been lower. And then everyone got mad at me because they thought I was saying really, like, I thought I should have done better. And so like I had to like just live down the fact that people thought I was being like snobby.
Yeah.
But I was like, really? I didn't really
You're like,
think
I
that.
think I am like 7th or 8th here.
Yeah, like it was just one of those things.
I think it's hard because some people just can't, like, don't have the context for your understanding.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like someone's correcting me in the chat, by the way. Matthew Perry
Yeah.
wasn't Joey. He's Chandler. Who was the other guy then? I'm doing my best here, team.
Matthew Perry.
And I don't know.
David Schwimmer's Ross.
How come I can't remember this guy's name?
I'm not remembering it off the top of my
I
head.
don't know.
It's been so long since I've seen.
Chandler is a superior character.
I
will
was
say
never
that.
a Friends guy. I've
seen like the episodes here and there.
Were women was Friends mostly women that watched Friends? Or, I mean, that was such a cultural touchdown.
I think everyone watched it. I think now a lot
Yeah.
of women, because it had a revival when it was on Netflix and everything. There are tons
Yeah.
of Gen Z and millennials who didn't grow up with it like on TV, but they have watched all of it since.
Yeah.
Matthew LeBlanc, thank you so much.
Thank you. That one. And who was the one that was just recently going through all the addiction issues? That was Matthew Perry.
That's Matthew Perry.
Yeah, that was like
and
that
his
was a big
character
story.
is better. He's more interesting. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think it's funny. He's funnier.
All right. Oh, by the way, I'm gonna end the poll since it is a Monday. I asked everyone. I said, "Are you having a case of the Mondays?" And I
so
put options. I put
sentimental.
yes, no, and it's not even Monday for the people that like to gaslight us. And believe it or not, that came in a close third. So 48% of people are having a case of the Mondays today. That's too
Okay.
bad.
I'm sorry about it,
Well, we're
Steve.
here to make your day feel better. We want your day to go better, guys.
Yeah. With all of our Oscar talk, because I
yes.
know everyone loves the Oscars.
Look, we got to cover it, right? Like
course
it's like
we do.
Look, Everything Everywhere All at Once won like 1 million awards last night. Michelle Yeoh won for Best Actress because
And then NPR, did you see this? NPR was like, she identifies as Asian, and everyone
Yeah,
was
oh no, I
like,
saw.
"No,
I
she
saw the.
is Asian."
We didn't cover that like that. Where they said she identifies as Asian.
Yeah.
There was also something recently where they said Marvel had a thing for Empower because they can't do anything with Marvel and women without it being some type of pun or play on words. And it said women and women identifying like women who identifies or people who identify as women.
Yeah, but that's like a broader scope in modern vernacular than is literally Asian.
They have turned like they really have kind of made it like a costume for people.
Yeah,
who
Ollie
just wanna-
London was Asian identifying. He's
For a
no
while.
longer, but I think Michelle Yeoh would accept that she is just Asian.
I would have loved to have Ollie London on here because we've talked.
Yeah,
about,
I was sad that you guys didn't ask him to come on.
We like I didn't even think about it. Like we're like, hey, can you push your flight? I don't know when he would have flying out.
He was here.
flown
He was
out.
hanging around when
Yeah.
we were recording for at least part of it.
Yeah.
Anyways.
All right. So, guys, speaking of the Oscars, Patty Jenkins isn't happy. And I do want to talk about this just a little bit. So, she says that she gives up at the fact that there were no women nominated for Best Director. That's a problem for her, right? So, my question is actually, first of all, the most important thing is she says she uses the typical activist phrase, which is there's a long way left to go, meaning that an activist's work is never done. But the question is like in today's day and age, right? When men and women is such a loosely used term for both, like they have Best Actor and Best Actress. And that I always assumed was because men and women have very different roles in movies. But as we push towards a more androgynous society, and there were calls this year to get rid of gendered awards, right? There were those calls, but they resisted it. I bet you they go away in the next 5 years at the Oscars. Why not have...
I don't know, because that would shorten the event.
Why
They
not
want it
go
to stay
the
long.
other direction and have a Best Male Director and a Best Female Director?
Yeah.
Like, men and women clearly have different approaches to directing movies.
It makes me wonder if they don't do it because there aren't enough male. There are lots of male directors. There aren't enough female directors to fill the category. Like all you would have to do is put out a movie, or they would have to start opening up to maybe movies that they normally think are too small for the Oscars. I'm not sure. What gets me about this generally is the fact that she's the director of Wonder Woman, right?
The first Wonder Woman is great.
Yeah, but
The second one is not.
So maybe she should pick original content. I don't know how many times I have to say this. Like, maybe directing superhero movies is not going to get you the Oscar. Maybe you have to take riskier.
Well, she didn't even have a movie coming out this year. This isn't about her. This is her just virtue signaling on behalf of the women from The Woman King, Till, and what was the other one? The Women Talking or whatever, those movies or whatever.
But those are also like, as far as I know, they didn't do that well. Like, I don't understand what the bar is here.
I want to point out that language here too, which is my favorite part of the article. It says female directors shut out of the category whose films were nominated in other categories include Charlotte Wells for Aftersun. I have no idea what that is. No idea. Sarah Polley for Women Talking, Gina Prince Blythewood for The Woman King, and Shinonie Chukwu for Till. Look,
and Marcia Schrader for She Said. So are
using
these
the
all
term-
pro-feminist movies
Yeah.
that then didn't get critical acclaim because maybe they're not that good?
But also
like, at what
because-
point would you diversify what you're giving your directors to work with if you really want them to have a shot at this category?
They're only giving them movies that have to do with women.
Yeah.
Like they're not allowing them to direct
But they don't
anything else.
seem mad about that.
No,
like
because-
that's what I don't get.
Because they're so happy to tell stories about women. But that's not even the part that I thought was funny. It was the part where they referred to it as shut out, which implies to me that they think of it as a panel of old men, when the Oscars panels is one of the most diverse groups they've ever had,
Yeah.
because they've had calls since 2017 to make their movies, to make their award casting process more diverse and more inclusive.
Yeah.
So they have no way of doing this without saying, like, look, maybe women just didn't think your movies were very good this year.
Yeah, maybe your movies aren't that good. I feel like as a director, when you are pigeonholed into only writing like Wonder Woman, Women Talking, whatever else, The Woman King, like all these pro-feminist movies, and then you're upset when feminism doesn't win you an award, you should realize that that system is broken. I am totally willing to believe that some of these female directors are very qualified, very talented. There's no reason for me to doubt that. What bothers me is that they aren't taking on projects that are bigger than just completely obsessing about the fact that they're women, right? Do something bigger and bolder. Stop being like, my gender is this roadblock for everything, and therefore I have to tell female stories, and then I have to do this. Like, just do something more interesting or more unique or more authentically attached to who you are, and maybe that will convey. I think that saying that, oh, well, we're just being shut out, doesn't take ownership of the fact that maybe your project selections are not good enough.
I don't even know if it's project selections. I think that, I mean, for those directors, I guess it's a selection, but those movies are never going to be directed by men again. They're never going to allow those movies to be directed
Maybe
by men
those movies
again.
aren't that interesting. I mean, I have heard of some of these movies. None of them, as far as I know, are critical successes that just shattered the glass ceiling and made so much money that we're glad that we did them. Like, maybe being like, well, you're a female director, so you should talk about women, should start to feel like an insult. Like, all you're saying is that is what they can talk about.
Well, they did that to comic book writer Christopher Priest when they would started for decades. He would do all sorts of comics and all sorts of characters, but then into the early 2000s they started only giving him black characters because he was black.
Like, that seems
Like,
crazy.
and racist and
Yes.
extremely racist, just like it would be sexist to only give someone roles based on the fact that they're only giving them something. But they're the ones that push this narrative. These same women are the ones that will push the narrative that, like, how could you as a man possibly direct a movie based on a woman's experience
Right.
when you yourself have not lived that experience?
Sure, great times. Don't let them direct women's movies. But then also, when you write the women's movies, maybe examine the fact that it's not like they're doing extremely well among female ticket buyers, right?
Yep.
Women are not rushing to the theaters to watch your movies. Maybe your content is not something that the audience or the public wants. Like, maybe you are pushing a narrative that you feel like should be out there. And then if people don't respond to it, don't get upset, right?
And the big one for this was that the movie that won for the best director was Everything Everywhere All at Once, which starred Michelle Yeoh, who won for best actress and proved that you don't need to just make a movie about just women's issues. You can have movies starring women that talk about things other than just being a woman.
See, I really liked Everything Everywhere All at Once because it was a female-led story that talked about issues that everyone can identify with,
Yes.
but that maybe women feel uniquely, right? And it's really about a mother-daughter bond. Like, it wasn't like, go feminism, we're getting whatever, this is whatever. It's just about the concept of time and missed opportunity and all of the choices that you make and the culminations told through this lens of the multiverse. And I found that really powerful. I am sure men struggle with some of those complex issues as well, seeing it through the female female lens, meaning the mother-daughter lens, I think is powerful. Like, that was about women in a subtle way that didn't make it so like it's very, Rosie the Riveter, we got this, men get out of the theater. Like, it told something that's about humanity, and in doing so, it did so through a female lens. I think that's great. Why don't we do that more often? And it's because we can't. We have to make everything obsessively about gender, not in a way that empowers storytelling, in a way that just, I don't know, pits everyone against each other.
But also, like, I think part of it is just they don't have faith in the audience anymore that they're going to be able to pick up on more nuanced storytelling. which does a
Shouldn't you be
disservice to-
insulted by that?
No, yeah. For the big blockbusters, it's a little bit different because you don't like. For instance, I watched the Luther movie yesterday, and people will always joke, or we joke on here, that like I just love big budget action movies that have no point. I didn't like this movie because it was done in a way that felt like it was supposed to be a big budget spy thriller based on a character that was just a psychologically damaged police officer. And I didn't like it because it wasn't that character.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's not that they can't do good storytelling. It's that they're not able to do it within the movies where they're trying to tell those stories. So Wonder Woman deals with women's issues, and it's a fish out of water story, but it's still a big budget superhero movie. Different than
I didn't see Wonder Woman, so I shouldn't completely comment on it. But I would say I felt like all of the press promo around it was like, here is strong Wonder Woman, women, good job, go women, fight, like take on masculine perspectives. And personally, I don't think that is as widely appealing. I also think that like, great, Wonder Woman can run really fast and punch people and do it all while wearing this like cleavage bearing outfit. Like, that's great for her. But what ultimately are we trying to convey to people about the state of the human condition? And I think that's true of all movies directed by men, with male leads, with female leads. It doesn't matter. I think we are so much ingrained in thinking that politics are the same thing as introspective analysis of who we are to our core, that people are willing to say, oh, I'm making a political point, and that's the same thing. And it's not. I think really we want to have discussions about a moral character and our philosophies and the content of what we think makes successful people without having to make it all about, well, you either side on this, you side this way or you're against us. And that's so much of what when women call for like, well, I'm being shut out, all women are excluded from female directors. Like, maybe you didn't take advantage of the skills you have naturally as a woman to produce content that stood apart from the male directors. Maybe you should have used your skills. Sorry, I'm totally ranting here.
No, it's good.
Maybe you should have used the skills that you have as a female, higher empathy, more attention to detail, than male directors, and made a nuanced story that they couldn't have.
It's almost impossible for productions of that size because it requires a tyrant at the top of the food chain.
I think there are tons of tyrant women who could pull it off. They are choosing to adapt to what they think they should be putting out as opposed to staying strong in who they are, in my personal opinion.
All right, we got a $20 super chat there. Go ahead and read it.
Okay.
Steve Ryman.
Steve Ryman again. He says, you just have to give me a second, Brett. I'm adjusting my format. He says, making female-only divisions in things outside sports seems like just another forced lowering of the bar for ladies. You're equal, great. Compete with the obsessive guy who eats, breathes, and sleeps the film he is making. Yep. I mean, I think I'm making a similar point, saying like there are things that probably make male directors great, and because I know this is super controversial, but because there are differences between men and women from the day they are born, they are different and they are wired differently. You shouldn't be leaning into the field that the men are doing. You should be using the skills men don't have to produce great movies. I don't think it's impossible. I get your point of like,
the production process is rigid.
Yeah.
The production process is rigid and leans into the traits that men possess more.
This is the same argument they make about political campaigns. Like, why aren't more women in Congress? Well, because it's extremely demanding, and not all women, fewer women want that lifestyle than men.
Understandable.
True of lots of different professions. I think part of it is like, to your point, should they have a male or like a women's director, best male director? I am surprised that we didn't start having this argument in the 60s or 70s.
I know, right?
But now it seems too late.
All right, guys, we're going to move on. We are going to get started here. So Scream 6 made news this weekend in a way that annoyed me a little bit. One, because I, myself, love the first 3 Scream movies. The fourth one is fine, but those first 2 ones hold a very special place in my heart because they were part of my childhood, 1996, 1997. And Nev Campbell, being the star of those movies, is a very important part of my childhood too. And what they seem to be doing with these...
You hear that, Nev? You're an important part of Brett's childhood.
Exactly. You can call me. What they seem to be doing here with these headlines, which are all like this. They're all... I'm just going to put it on the screen and then we're going to go back to the regular shot. It says, Scream 6, new franchise record, new franchise box office record. No Nev Campbell, no problem. No, you are wrong. Okay. The point here, guys, is that they're making it seem like this was the biggest box office opening of any Scream movie. The problem is they're not counting inflation. And inflation matters in something like this, right? So this movie opened to $44.5 million. Well, that's a lot of money. That's fine, right? But what you'll find is that the second Scream movie opened to $32.9 million. But when you adjust that for inflation, it opens to $61,567,600. That is your biggest. And what I think it says more than anything is that a sequel is where you might reach the highest point for a film, because the first Scream movie came out of nowhere, so you wouldn't have expected it to have the biggest box office draw, because the reason the first Scream movie was successful wasn't because of a big initial pump at the box office. What happened was it had extremely long legs, meaning that it stayed in theaters and in the top 5 and 10 for a very, very long time.
Was that true of the other ones too?
No, not in the same way, right? So, and to be fair, in the first Scream is still the most financially successful when you adjust for inflation out of all of these movies. Now, that's not to say that this movie won't make money. This movie cost $35 million to make. And by the way, I'm not including marketing or budget in it, like in any of this. I'm just going based off opening weekend numbers. So it cost $35 million to make. It's already made 44.5, but they only keep about 60% of that box office. So 40% of that goes back to the theaters, right? But the problem is, here's why does Hollywood have to feel like they have to constantly lie to make things seem better than they are? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it
like,
does.
why are they doing that? Like,
I feel like they're trying to do it to justify themselves, you know?
But why is TMZ doing it? Like, I get why something owned by the site or by MGM, or no, I guess this would be Miramax. So I don't know who owns the screen, if it's still Miramax, if Miramax is still a thing, or I guess it's Paramount now, right? So like, I would understand why Paramount would want to champion this narrative, but why don't any of these newspapers ever just say like, hey, look, it's doing good, but it's not doing Scream 1 or Scream 2 numbers?
Well, when
in
you
the
were
end.
looking this up, did a lot of other outlets have this take?
Yes, so I actually
Weird.
have.
For me, it just comes down to like people who don't understand how the economy works. And I am like by no means a professor here, but you have to account for inflation. That would be the same thing as saying like
They never
the
do.
company sold for this. That's equivalent to this in these days.
I just pulled up the Google results because I wanted to share this with them. So Variety, Scream 6 hits 22 million internationally, setting franchise opening records in 29 markets. Scream 6 even louder with 44 million, franchise opening record. Like, it's like they're all pulling from.
It is a record technically, but it's not. You have to put it on scale. You have
Yeah.
to see compared to something else. I don't think Neve is upset about this because, you know, also when you are going to this movie, everything in the world costs more.
Well, and Nev is maybe annoyed because, look, I think that the movie would have done better with her.
Yeah.
I do.
All hail Nev, right?
Well, I guess
She's an important part of your
technically they have
childhood.
Jenna Ortega, who's like the biggest name in Hollywood, right? Who's one of the biggest names in Hollywood right now.
But
So
did Nev not have to be there for Jenna Ortega to be there? Like they could have both been there.
they could have both been there.
And I feel like that would have united like new Hollywood ingenue with this like legacy character.
Yeah, well, I mean, they try to do that with the fifth one. Like, I am not going to see the sixth one in theaters. No Nev, no Nev, no peace.
Wow,
no
a
Nev, no peace.
protest from Brett.
Like, I also got mixed reviews. Like some of I have like 3 or 4 review channels where like you watch enough of them and you kind of get a sense to like where their views on movies fit with yours, and you can figure out like the stuff that they really like is the stuff you kind of like, the stuff they hate you also hate, where you sit on it. I got some very good reviews from personal friends who said they saw it and they thought it was great and they thought it was a great continuation that does better than the fifth one. I got a couple that said it was horrible and awful, but that's all up to personal taste, right? But I want to know why the media can't, maybe to your point, you're the one who's always telling them that they need to make new things. I'm usually the one who's here defending, look, it made money. And to be fair, this movie will make money. It will become profitable. This type of horror movie that costs minimal to make, minimal to budget, long legs, will always do well in theaters, especially when it's got the name recognition of a Scream series attached to it.
And people do go to it out
Yes.
of tradition. I get that.
But the idea could be that if they were to be a little bit harsher in their critiques of these films, maybe some of these franchises would die faster and allow room for new things to be born out of it.
yeah.
Right?
I think that's totally true.
Like, Is there any way in which you could have seen this done like more charitably by the people writing these articles?
Well, I just think it's a misleading headline. Like that's what bothers me. I guess technically it is a franchise record, and I'd want to see it compared to the way they write about other movies or even like sales of buildings. Like when you talk about, because writing about the economy is very difficult. Like you have to be really precise in your understanding, and so I'm not surprised that like TMZ writer who normally doesn't write about this
economy,
stuff maybe doesn't get the implications of inflation, but
they did the same on the Hollywood Reporter, and the Hollywood Reporter gets into the weeds with
and that's
numbers.
where it's like I think you guys are misrepresenting what's going on because you're trying to push a narrative. It's hard not to see bias in that.
Hey, I'm admitting I am a pro Nev Campbell. I have my own bias on this.
Right. I mean, of course, they're just wrong on principle, on face. But like, I think it is worth pointing out that this is true of all kinds of franchise movies right now.
Yeah.
And if you can't see the different, like if you can't see the impact of inflation, you aren't able to totally gauge perspective. Someone saying like, oh, it set new box office record would think that suddenly the series has become increasingly more popular, right? Like that maybe there was a sudden surge and there was a renaissance of Scream, and all these kids whose parents love Scream are now watching it, and like, but that's not really what's happening. They're just saying that now that the world is the most expensive it's ever been, this movie made more money because money means less.
It's funny too because I have like a deep affection for this franchise, right? Like I one of the first things when I restarted Twitter, one of the first things I posted was the importance of like. Everyone has scenes in movies, or I guess if you love movies, you do, that stick with you for a very, very long time. They're just ingrained in your brain. And to me, it was the final scene in Scream, not even an important scene. It's literally the final shot in the movie as a crane is panning away from Gail as she's setting up her camera to go back into the house she just survived almost getting murdered in. And the song First Cool Hive by Moby plays, and it pans over the valley to this sunrise. And that scene, which I saw when I was, I don't know how old, 12 years old, 10 or 11 years old, still resonates with, I would have been 10, I'd have been 11.
It's really powerful.
It's really, really powerful. So look, I understand why they continue to make them. I understand that they make money, but for this one, without Nev Campbell, I just don't wonder why they don't, and they should have done the same thing for Avatar. They weren't counting for inflation. Like it's still going to be the biggest box office movie of all time.
To me, it comes across as like this Scream PR agent contacted TMZ and said, hey, I've got a press write-up for you, and here's a quote, and I'm going to write it, and then you use the information I sent you. This is super normal in journalism, and it's not always bad, but they're saying, here's a press release on ours. We broke a record, and actually the journalists should do their due diligence and say, oh no, they have earned more money, but in comparison, they've actually placed. Because I would be interested, like, did Scream 6, let's say Scream 1 does the best. Is Scream 6 in second or third place? Like, which one really was the worst Scream in terms of profitability at the box office?
The fourth one, I believe. Yeah, the fourth one was adjusted for inflation, the fourth one was the least profitable out of all of them. But what's funny here is, like, just think about this. The fifth one came out last year, and there's already inflationary numbers. Here, Scream 5, which came out in the year 2022, cost $24 million to make. Well, that would be $25.5 million now. And the opening weekend was 30 million, which means it would have been 31.9 million now, and its box office total was 137 million, which would be 145 million now if it had come out this year. It bothers me because those first two and the second one, 61 million is a lot for a movie that cost only 32 million, or that only cost 24 million to make, or in this case, 44 million adjusted for inflation. But that first Scream movie, which had the lowest budget and the lowest opening weekend, is still the highest grossing out of all of them at $334 million. But it just shows you, like, there's so much to box office. And a lot of times, like, what you have to think about is, like, when you look at those numbers, think about how little they actually make on these movies. Cut all of those numbers in half, and that's all they took home from that. And that's not including, like, what goes to. So a lot of those actors have clauses in their contract that gets more based on profitability, back end deals based on video rental sales.
Right.
Like most of the money that these people would have made wouldn't be from these box office totals. It would have been from the home video sales.
Yeah.
I certainly didn't see
Which like this movie won't have, right?
because everything's going to go straight to streaming when it gets done, and streaming is choking on just a limited number of subscribers. People are only able to pay so much per month for subscription services, and not everyone's going to have Paramount Plus, which I went on a rant this weekend because Paramount Plus has the absolute gall to put a 15-second ad at the front of movies when you pay for the ad-free tier.
That seems crazy.
It's for
that seems like a direct violation of what they're advertising.
And it's for Paramount. It's an ad for their own
themselves?
streaming service at the start of a movie.
That's crazy. Have you ever been in like a Buffalo Wild Wings and then you watch a Buffalo Wild Wings commercial on like their giant TVs
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they're playing sports?
They-
Like I feel like you guys don't understand. I'm here.
I'm
I've
already
made it.
here. You don't need to do that. You don't
No.
need to do that.
Okay, let me ask you a question, and this is very serious.
Okay.
Would you want Neve to play Jasmine in a live action remake of Aladdin?
I don't think Nev Campbell can play Jasmine. I don't
Why
think.
not?
I think she's too old now.
What if it's like an adaptation where it's older? It
is
shows
it?
them-
Is it like old Jasmine?
No, they're like parents now. They're
No,
ruling
then
the
they're race
kingdom.
swapping her. No, they cannot have Nev Campbell play Jasmine. She could play Cinderella.
Okay.
They'd have to dye her hair blonde.
Maybe she'd be happy about that. Or Snow White. Maybe she wants to be an older Snow White.
They could do. Well, are there any? Who are the dark-haired princesses? Are there besides Jasmine?
Snow White.
Is
She's
like
got black hair.
Is she okay. One of those.
I don't know. This isn't really my area of
Again,
expertise.
I don't have. I am not one of the. I don't know a lot about the Disney princesses, but it says.
I don't know. You've named multiple today, so I'm feeling like this is a secret hobby of yours.
It's like secretly on the weekends. I don't actually watch Tom Cruise movies. I watch Disney princess movies. That's actually my thing.
What Disney princess is Tom Cruise? Do you think?
Ooh. I feel like he wouldn't be a princess.
What Disney heroine is he? Hero?
Who would he be? He could be Aladdin. I'll let him be
But
Aladdin.
that's
They can
race
race swap him. They can race swap him.
I was gonna wonder if you're gonna say Flynn Rider from Tangled.
Oh.
He's like the male hero,
Maybe.
suave and sliding. He does like lots of stunts. He slides down buildings and stuff.
No, you know what? He can be Mufasa.
Tom Cruise as Mufasa.
Yes, Tom
I
Cruise-
love it.
Tom Cruise can be Mufasa.
Disney, call us immediately. We have great casting ideas.
It's funny. I watched because there is going to be a Mission Impossible movie this summer.
Sure, of
watched.
course. Why not?
I watched Mission Impossible Fallout this weekend, and
So they started just giving them names instead of numbers because it's gotten too ridiculously high.
once they got to 4, they started giving them Ghost.
So people like me would be like, "Oh, maybe it's a new movie."
Yeah.
Instead, it's not.
I don't
it's
even
just
like
100th edition.
Maybe
of the
somebody
same
knows.
franchise.
Maybe the first 3 had names, but I don't think so. It's just MI1, MI2, MI3. But then it was Ghost Protocol, Rogue Nation. Yeah,
These sound like they could be men's deodorants. You know what I'm saying?
they kind of are.
Rogue Nation.
Look, they
Smells like sandalwood.
It's so great. Like my favorite part of watching those movies is then going back and watching the honest trailers that talk about them, and they do talk about the movies are so interchangeable that it's just Tom Cruise as Ethan Hunt, and then he's like, one guy's like, I'm 5 movies in, and I just call the character Ving Rhames plays Ving Rhames. It doesn't matter. They don't have names. They're just these people. Simon Pegg,
It's
Ving Rhames.
irrelevant. I remember watching the first Bourne movie, or like, what are the Bourne movies?
Jason
Bourne.
I watched The Bourne Supremacy this weekend.
Okay. None of those characters have names.
No.
You cannot tell me any one of them has a name.
Those are even better
Like,
honest
go,
trailers.
Captain.
They do a thing where they go, or you can watch The Bourne Identity, where Jason Bourne gets in a car crash.
With like unnamed supervillain, or like, you know what I mean?
And it's every movie is the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It says, and then a bunch of people stare at screens, and then there's a traitor in the government,
And
and
they're
they're
not
all
really
the same
name
thing.
whatever agency he works for. I know someone's gonna be mad about this.
I mean,
but
it's
it's
just,
like,
I mean, it's
it
the
doesn't
CIA.
matter. It's irrelevant.
It's the CIA.
It's the CIA,
but is it,
it's the more secret CIA. It's the SCIA.
Yeah,
like, it doesn't. Nothing is real.
No, but here's the thing. I love those movies because the best The best description they made was they talk about how they're superbly directed except for the action, which looks, because it was like shaky cam, they say, where it looks like they strapped a GoPro to a meth head. And it totally is. If you watch those movies, you'll get sick to your stomach because there's so much of the camera.
so interesting.
And most of the movie is really just Jason Bourne looking concerned while walking through train stations. Well, walking fast through
I
train
wonder
stations.
if different countries like lobby, like the tourism boards lobby the Bourne series to be like, come film in our train station. It's beautiful.
At a certain point, I
Like
don't
the
know.
Estonian travel board is like, we've got a train station. Come film here.
Yeah. Well, since
and then
getting
all the
a
people who
bigger,
are like, I want to go travel to Estonia. Jason Bourne blew up this train station. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, like people go to like platform 9 3/4, like platform 9
Yeah.
and 10 in
But it'd be way more
London.
interesting if it's like, come bring your action hero. You're gonna make 27 of these movies anyways. You might as well feature us in one. And they always have the like type thing where it's like do 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 like whatever.
Yeah.
This country.
I love the Bourne movie. They're a little bit, they're not suave like the Bond movies. They're more visceral. I do have a harder time connecting with the characters in the Bourne movies because
That's 'cause there's no
they're so interchangeable.
And there's no development of characters.
No.
Like that's not the point.
He's
of the Bourne
essentially the
movies.
same person at the end of the last one. But I do love it because they have Julia Stiles, and as a child of the '90s, you have crushes on Julia Stiles and Rachel Lee Cook.
We need a whole episode devoted to the women of the '90s that you support. That'd be the
man.
best pro-feminist episode for Pop Culture Crisis.
I could go off for.
I don't understand. Where is this exclusive content?
I could make that like like somebody will have to let me know if
the '90s women's that you should show your daughters by Brett.
Rachel Lee Cook is from Minnesota, so I have to doubly support her because she's from Minnesota.
Oh my gosh, where is this rant? I need to see
She's
it.
who doesn't love She's All That or Save the Last Dance? Those were masterpieces, products of their time. All right, we got some super chats there. Can we?
Yeah, we
do
do.
that? All right.
We actually have a bunch at this point.
Yep.
Let's see. Andrew Jacob says, great job on Whatever Mary. I haven't watched it, and I'm never going to watch it, but I trust you. Hi, Brett.
Well, she will be back tomorrow. I will pass your great job along. And yes, she put a bunch of vapid, self-obsessed modern women in their place, I am sure.
Oh,
Crisis
it's
Party.
happening. But I don't hear anything.
I screwed up.
What are we doing? Wow, Brett. It's like, it's who?
Boiling acid. It's from Batman Forever. I made this one special for Vera on Friday, and I decided to keep it because
like
it's
it
so
so
good.
much? Okay.
Because it's so good. I'll keep this one for a week. But it's all of the explosions you hear are not generic explosions; they're actually explosions that happen in the movie.
Stop. That's so funny.
Yes, I spent a lot
There's
of time.
dedication to this craft.
There is.
It's Daniel.
Somebody mentioned Jerry Ryan in the chat. Yes, I have a very big soft spot for Jerry Ryan, though not just from Star Trek, but she had a great second season. She took over for Gina Bellman on the show Leverage for like 8 episodes because Gina Bellman got pregnant. And she doesn't age. She's one of these women that she's kind of like Jennifer Beals, not Jessica Biel, Jennifer Beals, who's like the baby's blood, like all the adrenochrome must be like plentiful out there in Hollywood because they're looking great
Maybe
for
she
their
just drinks
age.
a lot of water. Maybe she's just taking care of herself.
I mean, it's cooler if she's drinking the baby's blood. Just kidding. It's a joke.
Mark Reed says, rip in the chat for Mary for so very clearly getting intellectually wrecked by Nicolette spitting facts. This is some inside baseball. I don't know what's going on. Daniel
Nicolette must
J.
have been. I saw people earlier talking about, was Nicolette the stripper? Was Nicolette the stripper that was on the show yesterday? There was a stripper on the show. I don't mute, and somebody says Brett constantly mutes the crisis parties. No, what happens, guys, is after the show, when I have to reset the crisis meter and I have to get everything ready for the next day, right? When you reset it, it automatically sets off a crisis sound. And I'll tell you one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to set that extremely loud sound effect off when it's like 8:30 and they're recording IRL downstairs.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to, like I just picturing like Tim's like, yes, and that's why the economy this. And
we hear, it's acid. Or
and it's
whatever.
boiling acid, and they're like, "What the hell is going on?" And I'm just picturing like whoever the very important political guest is. Like, why is there a Batman movie being screamed at me from upstairs?
See, I would like it if they recognized it. I suppose, just so you know, the party count's not showing up on screen, I guess.
What?
I'm going to read some more super chats so
Go
we
for it.
deal with this. Daniel J. Corica says, watch the Last of Us finale and it was okay with that like squiggly face emoji. I think I saw one episode of The Last of Us. I haven't been following it. Brett, are you a fan?
Yes, we're going to be reviewing the last. I'm not going to give away the inside baseball. We'll be reviewing it tomorrow.
Okay.
We will be reviewing it tomorrow.
Disco Jensen, which is a great name, says, today is my alive day. I survived a major firefight in Iraq to watch the powers that be destroy the culture I love. Sad face emoji. Dude, whoa. Thank you for your service. Love you, Hannah Claire. Brett, watch anime.
Yeah, I've been. I
thought you were trying to tell me it was your birthday, but that's much more dramatic than what I thought.
And thank you for your service, and I'm glad you're okay. I'm trying to get the crisis party sound effect, or the crisis count fixed.
Jordan Shumaway says, happy Tuesday, Hannah Claire. I guess I am sort of tricking people because I am typically here on Tuesdays, but it is in fact Monday.
Well, they like to gaslight me anyways.
I
and
should have worn a
pretend
shirt
like
that
it's,
said it is Monday or something, like really been like, I know I'm throwing us all off. Salentino Banderas says, my case of the Mondays is because of DLST. And I don't know what that stands for.
I'm over here trying to fix.
Okay, well, I'll just talk to myself. As you know, I'm like a parrot. If you put a mirror in front of me, I'm okay. Disco Jensen says, those feminist movies actively put down half of would-be theater goers in marketing, and they wonder why the films critically and financially fail. I think it's a really good point. I don't like this idea that we just believe women directors aren't being recognized because of some terrible patriarchal authority that's just like hell-bent on oppressing them.
Well, it's a lazy answer.
It's a lazy answer, and I think you are oversimplifying. Like you're saying we should be recognized even though we apparently aren't competing on this playing field. Like if you are trying to play by someone else's rules and failing, in this case, make your own rules, right? Create content that is more interesting that men could not create, not just because it's about it's female stories, but because it's powerful and it shows the scope of human emotion in a way that women are inherently better in some respects at analyzing. And I don't think men would fight you on that.
To be fair, I mean, a great amount of that would come down to the writing. So men write inherently differently than women too. So there would have to be a
I think
discussion
it's
about
the writing is worth acknowledging, and I think we'd have to like do a separate analysis on it. But the director is the one who takes the writing from the page to the screen.
story. Yep.
And if you're not translating it, then maybe you aren't the best director out there. If the things that you are presenting aren't memorable, maybe you have to self-reflect instead of just saying, well, the system's against me.
Yep. Well, but it's just so easy these days. Hollywood does this to themselves by promoting that type of belief system, that the system is against you.
And no wonder you're frustrated, but also what tools do you have naturally that you are ignoring to try and compete? Steve Ryman says, oh, we already read this one. Sorry, Steve.
One more, and then we'll just read one more, and then we'll move on to the next topic.
Okay. 50 Charlie says, if I remember correctly, Aladdin is based on Tom Cruise. Is that true?
Is that? I'm gonna have to ask somebody to fact check.
I need
that
a fact
one.
check like immediately.
Yeah, that's crazy if it is. If not, then my guess was amazing. Or maybe I somehow learned that sometime, and it's just like that fact is like buried into the back of my brain, and that's how that one like came to be for me.
Because when did Aladdin is the 90s movies, right? So it was
Robin
when
Williams.
he was his big, Tom Cruise was really popular in the 90s. It wouldn't be totally off.
Yep. All right, let's hold off on the rest, and we will come back, ladies and gentlemen.
Wait, I just checked this. It's from ohmy.disney.com. Aladdin's character design was originally based on Michael J. Fox, but Jeffrey Katzenberg wanted Aladdin to be an iconic hero type, so he suggested the look more inspired by Tom Cruise.
There you go. It's perfect.
Wow, what a fun fact.
So I was like, right.
And you want to be Jasmine?
Yeah.
You are the Princess Jasmine. Like, you're called to the Tom Cruise universe, even when it's just like references to him.
It's perfect.
How fun.
All right, guys, we're moving on. So TikTok, first of all, let's talk about this. Instagram already has paywall content. All of these, Twitter has paywall content now, right, too? Twitter Blue and everything. Everyone's getting in on the paywalled premium content. It's not just OnlyFans anymore, ladies and gentlemen. You can now get premium content on TikTok, and they're saying that this is going to be available, right, just from some of the biggest creators.
Yeah, so they're soft launching it initially. It's just some creators, they're going to contact them. Eventually, more will be able to apply for this.
Yes.
And, I don't fancy myself an economist, but I do believe that the influencer industry and job market is fascinating and worth taking note of. Yeah. So it means that popular content creators who have access to this will be able to put certain content behind a paywall. It still has to comply with like the TikTok guidelines.
Yeah.
You know, there are things that are not allowed to do, but it'll still go through screenings. But it also can be up to 20 minutes, which is much longer than anything else on
So you're
TikTok.
actually paying for the length to be able to make longer videos.
Well,
too.
they're not paying for it,
But-
but subscribers would be paying.
Which makes sense if
To
you
then-
want if you're paying for it, you'd want longer content
and
anyways.
there are some influencers who operate in the ecosystem of social media platforms, right? And you see it a little bit with like this podcast, right? Like this
Yeah.
podcast has an Instagram, has a Twitter, and mostly it's YouTube based. You can listen to it because it's really putting out a product. But as an influencer, some influencers are big on one platform, then they have followings on Instagram and maybe Twitter, or in this day and age TikTok, where they also can, when brands approach them, say, okay, I will, if you pay me $10,000, I'll put a permanent post on my Instagram feed and I'll shout you out on TikTok. And
Yeah.
that's what our deal is.
A lot of influencers, like if you look in their bios, it lists like what their numbers are on other platforms, right? So it's like
Right.
450K on this,
1.2 on
1.2 million
YouTube,
on
yep.
TikTok,
Yeah.
450K on YouTube,
And
or
it's
something like
it's
that.
part of their way of attracting brands to work with, because that's how influencers make their money. And so this idea that they would then be able to just continue making content and also make money more directly just posting on Instagram. They don't need the brand to pay them for a TikTok post. They just need TikTok to say, you get a percentage of this subscriber count. It means TikTok is making more revenue off that. I find this really fascinating. I think that this ecosystem of the growing influencer industry, because I think it was last year, there was this poll where Gen Z, a high proportion of them say their dream career is to be an influencer.
Way more than just about, like, nobody wants to be astronauts anymore.
Well, no one wants to be astronauts. Also, this career did not really even exist 10 years ago. Instagram launched in 2013.
Yep.
So in the past decade, this idea that you can be, I am almost completely, Britt's giving me this look like, I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's like 2013, 2012 Instagram launched and took the world by storm, so much so that we have an entire career that you can be if you know how to analyze, how to use these things correctly. And then of course Instagram has Reels. Reels is its video sharing thing, so to directly compete with the disruptive nature of TikTok.
It's weird because my social, like mine, my Instagram seems to have been like hit like a weird, I don't know if it's shadow ban, but like my content has like dropped, like view count has dropped heavily and like hit a wall like very quickly. Like after I noticed it a couple months ago.
Well, and do you make, this sounds weird and I don't know if there's actually a difference, but like, do you post videos to Instagram or do you make Reels? Like,
no, I make reels.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay, you would.
I post skating reels. It's like, and my numbers stayed
and
consistent for well over. I mean, it grew steadily before I came to work here because I was skating street every day. I was going out and making different.
and you were posting every day.
Posting every day.
And all of these algorithms reward that type of consistency.
When I came out here, I was working more.
Mm-hmm.
Like, or at least I was working the same amount at home.
Working differently.
I was working differently. So I just stopped posting every day. But only in the last month has my view count really plummeted, and I can't really put a finger on why.
That's interesting.
Like, because like originally I would have said it had to do with the fact that I'm just posting a lot of clips in the same place, meaning that I'm posting a lot of the same obstacles that I'm skating.
Yeah.
Mainly because I just skate to have fun. It's literally just exercise after work.
Yeah.
But skating is one of those things, like skating is very much a subculture. It's part of who you are.
Yeah.
So like the people that follow me on Twitter follow me because of this show.
Yeah.
I only really talk about movies and television there.
That's kinda how my Twitter
Anytime
works,
I
too.
post any skating things there, people make fun of it, or or like, oh, I didn't know people still do that. But people that follow me on Instagram, which is where I have far more followers on, follow me strictly because of skating. Very few people that follow me on there really follow me on the show. Like some do, but not all.
Yeah, my Twitter is like basically all work and
Yeah.
like news related, and that's partially because I only got Twitter. I didn't even post just to see when news was breaking to keep up with it. And my Instagram was my personal Instagram that I then publicly mentioned that I have. I feel as though I should mention
The fake one.
Yes,
The fake
that,
one.
My not very interesting Instagram, someone completely copied it, like all of my photos,
So
all of my
creepy.
captions, and then posted them on March 1st, posted all of them. So I had to report it. I reported it a couple of days ago, and Instagram is like, we're still thinking about it. So I'm HannahClaire.b on Instagram.
Not 2Bs.
Do not follow HannahClaire.bb. That's not me. That's not real. If you get a DM from this person, as
It's
I
not
found
you.
out, it's not me. Don't interact with it. Block, report, all that stuff. Instagram, could you please help someone out here? Like,
And they're not helping you.
I'm just like in a whole, I don't know if it's because it was like I figured it out over the weekend.
Yeah.
But, and so they're like, we're taking the day off, so we'll get back to you. Like, I don't know if they'll deal with it today, but they haven't taken it down, which I don't love. I'm going to post on Instagram just to be like, by the way, this isn't, this account is not
I think
me.
the same thing's been happening to James Lindsay recently.
So
he said
weird.
like that's been happening to him. I expect more of that to happen to women.
I just don't get it because I'm not that interesting, but like one of my friends who's like not political at all, just has like a lively Instagram life. She got copied pretty intensely and Instagram took forever to take it down.
I get a question. This is a little bit of an
It
aside.
just seems weird.
Do you feel that for most of us here, whether it's because of where we work and what we follow on social media algorithmically, that people at their own peril don't realize they're also in their own bubble? Like there are plenty of people here, like in the world, that are just blissfully ignorant of the stuff that's going on in the world.
Yeah. I don't think that's true of just our office, right? Like if you
No, I'm just saying, like, do you think that maybe we feel like we're immune to the fact that we're in our own bubble of sorts? Like,
because we feel like we're being active.
Because you feel like you're being active and you feel like you're actually fighting against the bubble. But in
Yeah.
a way, it's like you get in your own negativity bubble. Like a lot, like it's all bad. It's all failing. It's all going bad. Everything's woke. Everything's this. Everything that's. It's a liberal leftist nightmare in America. And everything's falling apart.
Yeah.
And then I have friends who are extremely apolitical, or at the very least just don't care. And yeah, life is more expensive, but they don't either they don't know it or it hasn't hit them.
Yeah.
But it feels like doomerism befalls
I will
us
say
as well.
I think it's easy to become negative, especially if you're reading all news right now, and like the banks are failing and like we're giving tons of money to Ukraine and all this kind of stuff. Like it's very easy to be consumed by negativity. And I found that like I had to be disciplined about turning off social media.
Absolutely.
And also looking for the things that were good. So it's one of the reasons I'm extremely grateful for my friends who, they have their own political interests, but just generally I know them because we're friends. So when they get engaged or they have a baby or they buy a house or they just have a cool vacation or whatever, like I get to interact with them and hear about that and hear about just nice things that are going on. Like, of course, it's way more expensive. You should be engaged with what's going on in the world, but also seeing the small victories in day-to-day life puts things into perspective, I feel. Like one time I was on IRL, I had done like a stint where I was on every day for a week, and this mom messaged me to say like, hi, like you probably get like a lot of DMs on Twitter, and like it's not that I get a lot, it's just that like some of them I don't really want to read, so I don't check
Understandable.
it that often. And she was like, but I just want to let you know that my 2-year-old gets so excited every time you're on screen. She like will point at the screen and go, where's that lady? And when you're not on screen, she's like, where's that lady? And she'll go, there's that lady when I come back on.
She sees Phil and she goes, no.
I don't know how.
No, Phil.
Maybe she doesn't care anymore, but like reading that was so nice. And it's not because I'm like, oh yes, I'm so important. It's because like, here's this sweet child who's just bopping along, and like I get to, in this really indirect way, like entertain her, and that's positive, right? And I think with TikTok, sorry to awkwardly divert back to this, I think TikTok is addictive, and so you'll see things
Absolutely.
where people start to have, if they are, social media algorithms can pick up on your moves. So if you're scared of what's going on in the world, it'll feed you terror content. If you are excited about something, it will try and feed you that, but also especially if they can make you buy something.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Oh, and Instagram is great at getting you to buy stuff. I've never done it, but apparently Instagram sells tons of crap in their.
Because they launched a specific shopping feature.
I've never used it, but apparently that does very, very well.
I have never bought anything directly through Instagram, but its ads are scary good.
Oh, yeah.
It is terrifying. And I'm pretty weird about my Instagram. Like I try to throw it off on occasion.
I went on a weird rant with Andy and Lydia once where I was like, I was complaining about like an Advil ad that had like 2 fat women playing tennis. And I said, the statistical chances of this happening are so low.
And Advil is like, here's our regular ad.
Yes. And Andy's like, you're getting targeted Advil ads.
Because you're getting older and you skate a lot.
Yeah.
Instagram is like, look, buddy, you may need this, which is a little rude,
was
but
like
maybe not totally inaccurate.
It was like the body positivity movement has gone too far. There are not 2 fat old women playing tennis together.
Yeah, and you're like, wait, but Advil? Maybe I need to buy some. I think, really, so TikTok is facing a lot of bans in the US, in Europe. There are lots of places trying to restrict it. It's restricted in a lot of states. We're considering banning it outright in the US. Similar bans are in effect in Belgium and in Spain and things like that. So Instagram is now saying, like, if I am an influencer and my my biggest platform is TikTok, and now I have this series feature where I can make money. The U.S. government is now attacking my livelihood.
Yeah, they're going to get rid of your livelihood.
Right. And so in addition to fighting the addiction that people have to social media, both through fear and through just general dopamine hits, we are also now fighting people who are saying, if you take away TikTok, you're taking away potentially my biggest form of revenue.
I actually had to do that in a way. When I, back before I came to work here, so I was posting every day, skating clips every day. But I also launched a Patreon, right? So what you have to do is you have to use the Instagram, which is where the majority of your viewership comes from, right? And you have to push them to the Patreon to try to get them to subscribe there. I was using it mainly as a way to I quit all my sponsors like 10 years ago.
Okay.
And just didn't want to ride for companies. As soon as it became work, it wasn't fun. Not as soon as it was, but like at a certain point after skating, like I started skating for companies in like 2005, like right when I graduated high school. And basically skating was always in a way work. And a lot of that was social media. Like it became social media. Like I used to post clips to YouTube and people would like make fun of me and say like, why would you do that?
Oh, but you were ahead of your time.
Yeah. Everybody else was saying you need to make, it has to be for like filmed videos and everything like that. And we were still making those as well too. But I was like, look, in a decade, DVDs are gonna be gone. Nobody's gonna be using them anymore.
And, like,
and eventually,
you're so space age, Brett.
And then eventually, so then everybody moves to YouTube, and I was like, why aren't these people like? So the sponsors have all the power. All of the sponsors can give you no money, can just give you free product, and you get nothing in return other than exposure and equipment.
Yeah.
But nobody, like they're not making enough to justify paying anyone else enough to make a living. But that's not the world we live in anymore.
Yeah, it's
that
changed
sucks
dramatically.
for them. But the creator economy means that more of these people should be switching to Patreon or Subscribestar. And I was trying to get people to do it, and they're like, I don't know, like why would people? I'm like, dude, think like you can make any type of content you want. It doesn't have to just be this type of skating. You can do whatever you want there. And they had such a hard time moving over there. But part of it for me was like, you have to get rid of the need for the dopamine hit of posting the same thing on a different thing on Instagram every day.
Well, and I assume companies probably do you want to finish?
No, go
I'm
ahead.
cutting you off. I assume companies think about this strategically, right? Like if you have an advertising budget of $10,000 and you could spend $10,000 on one influencer, but you could spend $5,000 on a lower tier one and then spend a breakdown of that sending free products to even smaller influencers. And so some of them will promote your products for free because they are excited to have products to talk about. It helps them. It makes them seem like they are more prestigious. They're on PR lists. There is like this is a whole network of marketing that has developed over the last 10 years, which is how to make the most social impressions. And so with skateboarding, I assume it's similar. Like, when they pay for your board and they're like I'm so bad at this, but with like NASCAR and they have the logo on the top, like you associate that brand with this driver, and maybe that's good.
Well, that's the whole point.
Right.
Here's the funny thing. Who's coming out the best in all this?
Who?
Females.
Yeah, of course. Women dominated industry.
Women in skating who like, it's really funny. Like women.
Also with influencing. I think
That's what I mean. Like, okay, so
sports too.
female skaters who are good, but they're not at the same skill level as their male counterparts have 3 times the following because they're young and beautiful.
Yeah.
And that's.
Well, wasn't that like gymnast, the top Instagram athlete in the world? I don't remember. She's college age.
Gabby Butler?
Maybe. I don't remember.
The one
I
from
know that
Cheer?
she was so popular that like people were showing up at her arena and she had to do a post up being like, please stop showing up here.
I
Like
don't
it's
know.
not safe or something.
There's
She's like a
a-
blonde gymnast
Oh no, the like
with like several million followers on like, each platform.
my guilty pleasure on Instagram is stunt cheerleading.
You've told me that before.
I love watching
'Cause it's cool.
Those women are crazy. Like the stuff that they get. Like when you watch the falls, like when they get missed and then caught. Like it's not like it's a fun way down, right? Like there's a spotter there to catch you, but he's still like catching you by grabbing you by the neck so that you don't fall.
Inches before you hit the ground.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I can't imagine that like trust exercise.
But those ladies are those are some of the craziest people in the world. But that like Gabby Butler has like 2 million followers on Instagram or something like that, and a lot of those people got a lot of them got brand deals in college, like NIL, like name, image, likeness deals and stuff like that. But like I think a lot more of these like social media, TikTok, Instagram, it's never been a better time to have a unique skill set.
Yeah.
and a creative mind.
Do you know what my favorite thing? I didn't watch it on TikTok, but so like a lot of TikToks get reposted to Reels,
Yeah.
and I don't access TikTok.
Well, me and
'cause
you
the
are
Chinese-
older, so we
well,
watched
also
the,
like the spyware.
yeah,
and
we
the
don't
data
want the
hacking.
we don't want the Chinese
But anyway,
spyware.
not to sound like a boomer politician, but I actually believe all of that. But there was this one girl, she never showed her face. She would have a mask on when she talked about it. And for every day of the year, she crocheted one line of a blanket that was the average of the high and low temperatures of the city she lived in. And I watched that girl's content like there was no tomorrow. I was hooked. It would just show up randomly. And then I started like going to her account to seek it out.
To look
and then it
for
was
it.
like, it's week 37, it's week 42, it's week 49. And I was like, we're getting towards the end.
It's
What are we gonna
incredible.
do? And it looked beautiful, and I can't crochet, but I like embroidery. Like, it's sort of in the like realm of things I could be interested in
Yeah.
as, you know, an Elizabethan grandmother. But like, I don't know. It was addictive. And that's all she did. And I don't think she had any sponsored content. I think she had several 100,000 followers watching this blanket. And then she announced like, yeah, I'm not going to do it next year. Like,
She's whatever.
and I was just like, this girl I have to check it every day because it was cool and it's science and whatever else. Unique skill sets. If you know how to make something,
You still have to be able to make the videos and like
Sure,
this.
and
like,
she was cutting it and there were camera angles and she was consistent. That was
Yeah.
the thing. She put it up every single day. I think that it's not, you know, I think wanting to be an influencer can come from a vapid place, right? But there are people who are genuinely interested in reviewing products and saying like this is good or this is bad. It's the same way we got like Angie's List, right? That
Yeah.
thing where you can go on, like there was a way of looking to verify services.
My favorite. This is going to make me old too. My favorite person to follow is like I look for normies. The more normie, the better, because like this world that we live in here, highly politicized, highly this, highly that. Even this job, which is like pop culture crisis, isn't necessarily
Political.
inherently politically. I mean, the political aspects come into it because of how much of it connects to these industries. So when I have the people that I follow are joyously disconnected from that.
Well, part of it is because you're a human being, like you're well-rounded and you have interests outside your job.
But like I'm talking like normie, like Sheena Melwani's just a singer who like she's a mom and like she does videos with her husband and their kids and it's just joyously apolitical. In fact, she made a post on International Women's Day that got a little bit feministy for
And you were
my
like, how
liking.
could you do this to
and
me?
I'm like,
Question mark.
Yeah, no, I was like, I'm not in the mood for it today, lady. This is a commie holiday anyways. I don't
You
want to
take
hear
that
it.
right out of here and give me an oatmeal cookie recipe.
Like she like and it's funny too because it's very democratic, meaning like for her like she has like a charisma about her that can't be taught. Like you can't make yourself that likable. You have to be that likable.
Some people just have that X
and I
factor.
appreciate that. Like and it's for her turned into a successful independently done singing career that means she doesn't need a record label.
Yeah.
She can self-produce all her stuff now.
Yeah.
So we are moving more and more towards a creator economy and this thing for TikTok is just going to be more of that.
But like I said, this is
it's all going to be banned anyway.
well, and I bet it's because then TikTok can say, creators, look, the U.S. economy. If Biden looks like he's going to sign this bill banning TikTok, which should tell you how serious this is if Joe Biden has gotten on board. Not to be too obvious about how I feel about him, but they're going to say he's attacking your livelihood.
Yeah.
And the thing is, there isn't an equivalent as far as I know. I think YouTube has some subscription-based stuff. Instagram doesn't really have this paywall type feature. I mean, really, you'd have
No, Instagram has subscriptions now.
It does?
Yeah.
Okay.
Instagram has subscriptions, badges. You can monetize your reels.
Yeah.
Like I'm like I could
Mark
set up.
Zuckerberg is like, ban TikTok. Do it now.
Do it now. Like no, all of them are getting in on that. I mean, YouTube has the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, YouTube has members, members chat and everything like that.
I just think that like it tells you that we've peaked past this like initial interest in what influencers is. Like now that people are learning how to make money off it, there's like another tier of how to make money off of it. And I never think this will go away. I just think it'll evolve with the platforms as they rise and fall in popularity.
Where do you think it goes?
Well, I think you see this. Emma Chamberlain is that YouTuber who's like a young girl, and I know she started her own coffee brand. Like she has several million, and also like she hosts the Met Gala's red carpet show, right, or whatever.
So
it
she's
is.
crossed.
So
she's
people start
crossed
to
over.
cross over,
Yeah.
but also you see like Paris Hilton, who was a reality TV show star, cross into influencing. I mean, it's one of the things that the Kardashians are famous for, which is like they were early in the we are influencer market. Like, yeah, they tried to put out some albums and do whatever, but also they had like a credit card. They had lines with
credit card.
I'm not kidding. They had all kinds of merchandise that they were like, if you're a fan, you'll buy this. And that's one of the reasons that they have such strong social media platforms is they started early and made it so that you had to follow them there to know what was going on with them.
The other one that I want to, do you remember a couple weeks ago? It was big in conservative circles where it was the video of the girl dancing in like the Sam's Club.
Oh yeah, and like people are walking by and everyone's like, what's going on?
That is one of like 5 non-skating accounts that I follow. That girl. Her name's Enola Beddard. She now has 2 million subscribers, followers on Instagram. She's over 1 million on YouTube, and she's a dancer. She now choreographs for like Shania Twain.
Did she put out that video that was like, because the video, it wasn't her dancing in the store. It was the
No, it
video.
was her. That was
no,
her.
No. It was the video of someone recording her dancing in the store.
That was her mom that recorded it.
Okay, but who recorded her mom?
I have no idea who
Well,
did
like,
it.
did she bring her dad and say, you record mom?
No,
And
no,
that way
no.
this
Somebody
was about-
else recorded
so
it.
it just
It was like-
organically went viral and then people found her.
Yes.
That's crazy.
And she reenacted that. Like what she did, she reenacted that. She flew her mom to LA to reenact that video on Sunset Boulevard or on the Hollywood
So
Walk
funny.
of Fame. And all her videos get hundreds of millions of views. And look, people can laugh at that stuff all they want and be like, oh my God,
She's
it's the
making
end
money.
times.
Like,
She's making all that is your capitalist economy.
That's my thing. Like, I could never be a dancing TikTok star. It's just, I hate to disappoint the chat, but it's never going to happen. And I, therefore, am going to miss out on this potential to make money from it, right? Like, that's just the bottom line. It may seem ridiculous to you, but if she's comfortable doing it and she's having a good time, she's making money. Like, I hate to bring up OnlyFans, but like, I think OnlyFans is terrible. Bad idea. But on the other hand, the reason some people make money off of it is because they're willing to do it. Should they be willing to? Maybe not, but they are making money.
I mean, that's always like that. Whenever we have those discussions, it becomes about the morality of it. And for me, the morality of it isn't really my concern because I'm not that person. That's up to them. I can disagree with what you're doing, but I can also say look,
it's
you're allowed to
when
do what
I get
you wanna
annoyed
do.
about the million sequel movies and you look at me and say, but they make money, right? So like
Exactly.
people are going to do the things that make them money. And we can talk about morality, but on the other hand, undeniable fact, this girl with her bringing her mom to LA, like she likes her job and she's making money on it.
And she's also, but she's another one of those people, right? Like you watch her videos and you follow her stories, and she's kind and likable and engaging and posts all sorts of stuff. Like, and the reason I brought her up is like now she's going to all the movie premieres.
Yep.
She's going to all of these. Like she's like at the Creed movie premiere. I'm like, what does she have to do with the Creed movie?
The influencer class then gave Hollywood other ways to invite people to invite to premieres. Like in some ways it makes them less exclusive, but in other ways it gives them more exposure.
Yep. In a lot of ways, Hollywood needs the influencers more than the influencers need. Like whenever the influencers go to these Hollywood premieres, I'm like, that YouTuber gets hundreds of thousands, if not millions of more views, gets millions of more views than most of these celebrities would if they were making their own content. Will Smith's channel does all right, I guess.
But it's not as big as like just someone who is a YouTuber.
Well, I pointed out earlier, I said did you know that the Disney channel on YouTube, like Disney's company channel, where that Little Mermaid trailer has 8 million less subscribers than Moist Critical?
That's hilarious, but also not entirely impossible. Like that makes total sense to me.
And he's just a dude. He's just a dude
that people want to listen to.
Yeah,
crazy.
Crazy. All right, we got some super chats there.
Okay, let's see. Rogue. Well, let's see. Bobcat said Rogue Nation would be a good name for a cologne. I'm thinking sandalwood and almond with hints of cedar. Yes, thank you for agreeing.
Let's get started on that.
I'm sorry, but where are we with this product? I'm telling you, like Rogue Nation, Ghost Mist, like these are all men's deodorants for sure.
Ghost Protocol.
Ghost Protocol. I think this is
Back. What was it? What was the old not Axe, but the Curve? Remember Curve?
No.
Oh, it was like a cologne. It was like a Target cologne you could get. It's what you do you ever see those social media videos? It's like what it was like in 1999 or what it was like in 2007, and it's like somebody reenacting exactly like, and you just remember everything you see in it. And it's like a guy, he puts
Burned
on
into your brain.
He puts on like an Oxford and then puts a sweater over it. He sprays curve on him, and like Fall Out Boy is playing in the
And
background.
it is like the cool kid cologne.
and you're just like, oh my gosh, this is absolutely 2000.
Mom, take me to Target right now.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I worked at Target at the time.
So you got discounts on
yeah,
Curve.
Yeah, 10% off
You were
on
just
everything.
rolling in Curve. That's funny. Pizza Makes My Belly Hurt said, can we lobby for Wind of Winters to be finished? Also, do you think you'd ever be able to get George R.R. Martin on the show?
I don't think George R.R. Martin would want to come on this show. I do, however, believe that my conspiracy theory is that he's too afraid to hear what people say about his final book because it's become like performance anxiety. So I think he's got it
It's not
set
going to
up.
make anyone happy, is the thing.
I think it's done, and it's going to come out when he dies.
Interesting.
I think that like by power of attorney, it will come out when it.
Do you think the studio's secretly fighting him on this? They're like, we want to put it, or like
we
not
want
the
to do it
studio, the
now?
publisher?
Yeah, I don't know.
Before all of the Game of Thrones hype dies off.
I mean, will it ever die?
Because if he lives for 20 years, like people will still read it, but it won't have the same impact of like.
Yeah.
Because people got kind of, like all shows, people get kind of addicted to them, and they want more, and they want more, and
They're like, there's a great scene in the show iZombie. Did you ever see iZombie?
No.
iZombie was an amazing. It's based on an old.
a vague memory of seeing a poster for it.
Yeah, it was based on a Vertigo comic, and the character of Liv Moore. The idea is basically like. What would happen if you became a zombie, but you could eat brains regularly to keep yourself from turning into a full-on zombie? Well, there's a character named Clive on that show. He's a stoic, button-down policeman, and there's this episode where they find out all this stuff about him, where they find out he cooks in his free time, and they find out he really loves Game of Thrones.
Interesting.
And so they say, like, every time they go up to him, they say, "What's George R.R. Martin doing right now?" And he goes, "Not writing." Very upset.
So we don't think Wind of Winters will be finished for like what, another decade?
I mean, how old is he? He's looking pretty ragged these days. Hopefully,
So morbid.
Hopefully, he releases it. But it's just it seems like every year on the dot, he gives like some update, like, "Oh, it's coming along," and then you don't hear anything for another year.
What if he just doesn't want to write it? What if he's over it?
And I agree. So in the chat, somebody says Mary looks like a cute version of Liv. She does look like Liv Moore. Mary does look like this
Liv
character.
Moore
In the show, Liv Moore is the main character. It's played by Rose McIver. And the thing is she has to, because she's a zombie, one of the key traits of the zombies in the show is that they're pale white, right? And Mary's fair skin, very fair skin, so she's a lot more like this character.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Bobcat says, do you know the Counting Crow song, Mr. Jones and Me, is about Alex Jones?
I'm going to have to call fact check on that one too, but that would be amazing.
I would love to see some supporting evidence, but I like that interpretation.
Let's just hold off on the rest, and we will come back if anybody has any super chats. Remember, we will be reading the $20 and over ones.
Yeah,
Steve
the
Ryman
$20 ones are the interrupt us ones.
Yes, the interrupting super chats. All right, we're moving on, guys. So Lucas Gage, he is an actor. He's in White Lotus. He's refusing to identify his sexuality and it's causing him to get backlash over LGBTQ roles. My first question to you is, did you see something like this coming? Like where back in the day it was advantageous to hide your sexuality if you were gay.
Mm-hmm.
Now if you're straight, you have to hide your sexuality or at least be ambiguous about it to allow yourself to keep getting roles without backlash.
Yeah. It makes me want you guys to have a casting director on the show because it'd be interesting.
I would
see
love
what
to
they're
talk to a major Hollywood. First of all, because I'd like to grill them about the quotas that seem to be in place now.
Right.
But also, I would like to ask them, look, do you feel like with all of no director wants a bunch of handcuffs on them, a bunch of handcuffs put on their work, right?
Yeah.
Do they ever feel like, are you an activist first and the handcuffs don't bother you? Mm-hmm. Or does all of these restrictions and quotas that are being put on your job hinder your ability to do your job well? And does it take the joy out of it?
Yeah. Well, I always heard that actually you don't want to cast someone who's too identical to the character they're supposed to play because they then can't pick up on some of the nuances, right?
Interesting.
Because it's difficult to be completely honest with yourself when you're evaluating yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way it is. It's not necessarily a bad thing. And so actually having someone who doesn't share the same identity super intensely might be positive. More and more we hear, oh, well, we're from the same part of the country, and so that was good. Or I also shared this experience.
No, it's
growing
we're
up.
both gay, therefore it's good. Or
Right.
We're
And
both, yeah.
I think that's sort of weird.
No,
I
it's
mean,
very weird.
I understand it when it's like race swapping stuff, right? Like if you cast Tom Cruise as, you know,
As Jafar.
as Jafar, maybe I don't know. I don't know. But with sexuality, I
We should
think
cast Tom Cruise as everyone.
I think it's weird that Hollywood is an industry where you would have to disclose your sexuality to get a job. But in the rest of America, we would feel horrified if you went to apply for an accounting firm and they were like, but are you gay? Tell us if you're gay. If you're gay, you get the job. If you don't, you don't get it.
Well, no, now they do that because they're like, well, what race are you so that we can have you for the brochure?
Right, but that's still weird.
Yep, it
With
is.
race, at least it's something you're sort of seeing on the surface. Everyone can disclose at their own will, but like sexuality is so personal that it feels
Yeah,
weird.
but they are making it public. Hollywood's obsessed with making
That's what I'm
sexuality
saying. But
a
that's exactly what
forefront.
I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like it's weird that Hollywood would denounce any other industry in the world. They would make a movie saying how terrible it was if the bakery in Arkansas said, oh, well, we're Christian based, so we can't hire you because you're gay. They would be all about it. But then they are saying, well, actually, you should tell us if you're gay because then we are likely to cast you. And if you don't tell us your sexuality, you're actually potentially inhibiting, I don't know, what, social progress? Like, it just seems so hypocritical in a way.
Well, now they
And
can
uncomfortable.
you can just pretend and you just say I'm bisexual and then they can't technically prove otherwise.
But why should you have to lie about it? Like, if you are
Because
the
it's
best...
2023 and we have gone
Right, but if
nuts
you are
as a
the best
society.
person for the role, if you can carry the story and perhaps because you have to think critically and empathize with what it'd be like to be in that person's position,
Yeah.
you are better qualified to carry off the character.
I think part of that though is that like it's such a subjective art form that best person for the role becomes very hard to prove. That's why
Well, and there are a lot of people who, like, do you ever see the test pilot recordings when they're auditioning people for different roles? Like the ones for The Office are kind of popular on YouTube, and you'll see
the one for Hugh Laurie when he tested for House.
Yeah, but then with like The Office, everyone knows John Krasinski as Jim, but there were other people who auditioned to be him, or like Rainn Wilson, right? Rainn Wilson plays an iconic Dwight. There's very specific mannerisms, but other people did audition and they have their own interpretation of it. And if they had decided if the casting directors had decided they were a better fit, that's where it would have gone, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that. What they're saying is like you are taking jobs away from gay people who should be given priority when playing gay roles. But I think that's a very weird paradox to adopt for something that is supposed to be interpreting characters who are not real, right? It's not really the same thing.
And also the story is like, if the idea here is that they could only understand your story because they're of the same sexuality, are you also from the same region that this character was from? Did you live the exact same life that this character's from? Why is one trait inherently something that only one person can identify? But me being from Minnesota, can only people from Minnesota play characters from Minnesota? That doesn't make any sense
Doesn't make
any
any
more than it
sense.
does the other way.
I just wish that like we weren't. Was it the kid from Stranger Things? He's like Noah something.
Centennial?
One of these young actors, I think it was him, came out as gay, but they put up this thing, be like, well, way to force me out of the closet. Like I didn't want to have to talk about this, but yeah. I don't know if it was Noah or if it was someone else, but it's sort of like, so you're saying you were pressured to come out, even though it's not something you want to talk about, because otherwise people attack you for playing a role that actually you're very successful in. People are happy. They wouldn't want to take you out. They just want you to share these traits with the characters because they're developing a parasocial relationship with you.
Yep. So the interviewer, so we're going to talk a little bit about this part. So it says the interviewer referenced a moment last year when he responded to someone on Twitter accusing him of exactly that. And they're saying he's stealing opportunities from people in the LGBTQ community. He says, you don't know my alphabet, which is a hilarious comeback. That's such a 2023 thing to say.
It's a good line though.
You don't know my alphabet. He adds, I understand representation and voices that need to be heard, but I don't want to do anything on anyone's accord but my own. Let me do it when I'm ready and it's acting. I feel like everyone should get the opportunity to play whatever character they want. Look, I was watching episodes of Torchwood over the weekend with Captain Jack Harkness, played by John Barrowman. Well, John Barrowman, who is gay in real life, plays that character who's, I think, one of the earliest versions of a pansexual in Hollywood, if I remember correctly. He'll essentially sleep with anything in that show. But he also played Malcolm Merlyn on Arrow, in which he plays a grief-stricken father whose wife dies at the hands of gang violence and then loses his own son to his own dastardly crimes because he's driven mad out of grief for the loss of his wife. Is he only allowed to play gay characters because the actor is gay? Can he not understand? Would that love for his wife be any different than the love he would have had for the husband if they had made it a husband in that show? No, it wouldn't have mattered. Because he understands that he's acting and he's portraying more than just sexuality. He's portraying love. He's portraying grief. He's portraying madness. He's portraying all sorts of things. And there's so much more to it than just the base level idea of who you sleep with.
Yeah.
And it's so weird that something that seems so unimportant a decade ago is now held in such high regard by so many people in these industries.
I don't know. I feel like this is the death of Hollywood, where it's more about
slowly
who's behind the camera than who is in, like, what is being portrayed on the screen.
Absolutely.
You know, I just feel like in some ways, what doesn't matter except for the activist class.
Yeah.
If the story is good and it's powerful, and especially if you feel like he's playing an LGBT character and advancing some sort of important conversation about it, if he does a good job, what does it matter who he is off camera?
What will end up having to happen is eventually, when these filmmakers are making these stories, first of all, they're pressured into putting things into their stories so that these people can get cast. So it's like maybe someone writes a story and they're like, well, where's the LGBTQ representation?
Right.
Where is this representation? Where's that representation? Eventually, what will have to happen is powerful directors or principal directors will have to say, that stuff's important. That's not the story I'm telling.
Right.
And then cast whoever. If you write a role that's nothing but straight people and you cast a bunch of gay actors, fine. If you make a movie that's a bunch of gay characters, I want to know if we will ever, like, remember they made Bros, right? And it was all gay actors and they made this gay romance that nobody went and saw. Would people have thought differently about it if they had hired some straight actors to be like, straight actors? That was a big thing in Hollywood 5-7 years ago. Straight actors wanting gay roles because they felt like it made them Oscar worthy, right?
Yeah, that was a thing for a while. And then it was like, you're co-opting our culture to benefit yourselves professionally. Like, my question would be, at what point does the marketing team admit that these quotas, this idea that we have to have certain stories in every kind of story, aren't working? Right?
I would love to hear.
Bros
I would
didn't
love a
do
cast.
well
No,
at
it
the
didn't.
box office. So this idea that, like, we need to have a gay rom-com, I mean, it's hard to say, right? Like, what is the actual realistic amount of money such a niche movie for a niche audience will make? We don't expect, just typical rom-coms about women to make as much money as a Marvel movie that's supposed to be for a huge age group and bring the entire family and whatever else. Like,
not when they're making them on $100 million budgets.
No. And at what point do we just say, like, these storylines aren't working, so we stop producing them? And I think they never will, because they are completely handcuffed to this idea that we need to, as Hollywood, it's our job to tell stories that don't get told, except for when we have the chance to
make a bunch of
explore different cultures and tell stories about mermaids from local lore in different parts of the world. Then we just want to stick to the one we already co-opted. Like, they're talking out of both sides of their mouth.
It's funny because it feels like more and more entertainment, not just Hollywood, but somebody was talking, I don't remember who mentioned this to me recently. Justin Bieber was probably the last musical act that was allowed to just be unapologetically straight.
When he was like a weird childly boy. That's the worst part.
But he had an all-girl fan base.
Oh, yeah,
and
for sure.
That was like, they don't allow that anymore. They have to be ambiguous. So, and it's like, on one hand, I weirdly...
Well, you know who has a huge female fan base? Harry Styles.
Yeah, ambiguous.
But we have to pretend that's not true. Probably because all his fans are 12 and he's like an almost 30-year-old man.
But also because he also appeals to gay. They want him to appeal to queer children. Which is
see, at what point, like, with all of this, are we saying that people should push themselves to consider being gay to fit in with culture, or in this case,
We're
like,
already there.
if you really want a job as an actor, you should maybe just drop in an audition that you are in fact gay and you're more likely to get a role.
Were you on the episode of IRL? It's like one of the few times I've caught it recently where Libby mentioned like there's no American traditions left. Like coming
No, but
out.
I 100% believe that.
Coming out is like the last. Like you're not allowed to have. 60. All the traditions. You can't have prom king and queen. Prom king and queen is problematic because it's king and queen. You can't do any of the
or
traditions.
you crown the gay guy in your school prom
Yep.
queen. Like, it's all kinds of weird stuff that actually feels very, I don't know, inconsiderate and rude, right? Like, it just seems like we'll destroy everything before we accept that maybe we have made a wrong decision here.
It's happened too fast for anyone to believe for a second that it's organic. The amount of our population that is now identifying a certain way when that was just not the truth, not what it was. And we can argue all day about, oh, they just feel more comfortable. I believe social contagion is a far more applicable answer. And what is the best way to spread social contagion? Hollywood, music, culture. Politics is not where this stuff happens. Tim and them talk about it once it reaches policy level. Once it gets to the point where it's falling into your bills that have to do with drag queen story hour and stuff like that. This has happened for decades before this. Whether you want to talk about David Bowie, whether you want to talk about Prince, people who were not gay but were androgynous. Or was David Bowie gay? I don't know if David Bowie was gay.
I think he's bisexual or something.
But the point is, androgynous and Hollywood in general has attracted artsy types. Artsy types tend to fall in that category. So it's not hard to believe that they would be overrepresented in that culture, right?
Makes sense.
So, what are you saying?
Oh, someone put in prom them in the chat, and I think that's hilarious.
Yeah, prom they them. They're saying Justin Bieber is Miley Cyrus's drag king persona.
That's
Look,
funny.
I've always had a soft spot for Justin Bieber. I have no problem with Justin Bieber. Dude made a crap ton of money at a very young age, and he's Canadian. You can't hate Canadians, can you? You can hate Trudeau. You're allowed to hate Trudeau.
Canadians are people too. You could hate them if you needed to.
It's I don't have I just remember being like, oh, he's peeing in mop buckets. He's just going through his rebellious phase.
Yeah, his I made a lot of money as a young kid and now I'm freaking out phase.
And now he's
an American tradition.
Now he's married and he's also religious. He was also like probably the last one that'll be allowed to be like inherently religious.
I think there's like quite a few pseudo-religious celebrities out there right now.
But I was also thinking of like, because I was, when somebody, I think it was Mary that pointed out, it said Justin Bieber was the last artist that was like, allowed to be like a heartthrob that was straight. I was like, even Bad Bunny.
I don't think that's true.
Even Bad Bunny now comes to award shows in dresses and pretends to be non-binary.
But he doesn't pretend to be non-binary. He dresses androgynously, which is something that, as you pointed out with David Bowie, is something that's already been done. He's not like holding hands with guys. He's not pulling a Madonna and kissing Britney Spears on the lips at an award show. Like, he's not co-opting gay culture in so far as he's looking for a male partner. I mean, I think of like Harry Styles' origin, right? One Direction. Like, they were all just straight guys. I guess they were popular around the same time as Justin Bieber.
Yeah, I think of them as like the same time.
We
period.
had a whole age of pop boy celebrities. It's just that fashion has changed, and so in some ways they're presenting in ways that I would think of as
I think the culture has changed and thus the fashion has changed with it.
yeah, but I don't think that any one of them is actually pretending to be gay in a way that like someone who's trying to get a role in a TV
But
show
somebody like
might
Harry-
feel obligated to
Harry
in order
Styles
to get
gets
cast.
Harry Styles gets accused of queer baiting all the time.
Yeah,
Like-
he definitely is. But again, he's not holding hands with Matt Healy skipping on the streets of London. Like, he is he's dating Olivia Wilde, or he was, right? Like, he is, in every indication, not pretending to hide his sexuality. He's totally straight. He just dresses androgynously.
Somebody in the chat says, Bad Bunny, didn't he kiss a guy? I have no idea, but if so, there you go.
It's really above my pay grade to know these things.
What the F is a Bad Bunny? I used to say the same thing. Bad Bunny is huge. Like 3 years in a row has been the #1 streaming artist on Spotify and is apparently like a god in Puerto Rico or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
he's really big in like Spanish-speaking countries.
Yeah, like that's what it is. So, you know what? I think for this it's interesting because for a lot of these actors in the past, they wouldn't have wanted to be judged based on their sexuality. And when you make it the racial argument, the funny thing we talk about is like merit will always win out. There's a reason why nobody cares about race swapping when it's Denzel Washington or when it's Morgan Freeman or when it's Samuel L. Jackson, because in the end, even the most like based of person can understand that, like, look, this person draws money. I don't like it, but I get it. But when you race swap a character for somebody that no one's ever heard of, it's so very clearly pandering.
Yeah.
So if you just race swap and cast known people, you have an out in your excuses. Like, look, maybe he's not the best person for the job. Maybe he is, but he's going to make us a lot of money. So it makes sense there too.
All comes down to the money.
All right. We got a couple of super chats there.
Yeah. Arnold sent us, well, what is it? Tigering 66. Sent us 99 cents.
Tiger, yeah. So thank you for that.
Carnal said, "Can we get a Brett Recommendations Tom Cruise edition?
Say that again.
Can we get a Brett Recommendations Tom Cruise edition?"
What would be the way to go on that?
I feel like I want to, like, if you're happy,
Collateral.
I want to be like if you're happy, watch this Tom Cruise movie. If you're sad, watch this Tom Cruise movie. Like, if you've just gone through a breakup, watch this Tom Cruise movie. Like, that's the way I want this
So
to go.
if you're just going through a breakup, watch what? Risky Business. Like, I watched. I'm sorry, I didn't watch Ghost Protocol. I watched Fallout over the weekend. It's really great, and it's like, it is true that when you're watching it, you're literally watching Henry Cavill with the mustache that brought down the DCEU. Because it's like, he's okay. Have you ever heard the story?
No.
So he has, like, in that movie, the character he plays has this really prominent mustache, right? And it was in his contract that he had to keep that mustache for a period of time.
Okay.
Well, they had reshoots for the Justice League movie, but he couldn't shave the mustache off to play Superman because it was in his contract to
for
keep
the
that
other
mustache. So they had to try and CGI out the mustache, and it looked horrible. So in a lot of ways, that
like
mustache,
bring on the COVID era where he can just wear a mask.
yeah,
over
that's what they should have done. But beyond that, I would say watch Collateral and Edge of Tomorrow.
Okay.
So
Disco Jensen said, under ESG DIE quotas and mandates, being cis, quote, in parentheses, normal, is a stain on your acting resume. Doubly so for white males. It's the new class of sexism, racism.
well, now you just put racially ambiguous. You just put would rather not
I don't think
answer.
I could put racially ambiguous on mine. I'm not going to lie to you. I feel like people would suspect I was lying.
I think you're making that up.
I think that's not true.
And then as far as the rest of it, yeah, you just put bisexual because they can't. They can't
I don't, but
prove
that's the thing. Like,
otherwise.
you're asking people to lie, and I think that's the creepiest thing.
Yeah.
Like, just pretend, and then at a certain point, you can never take it back because everyone will be like, "Well, you stole, a role that should have gone to a gay actor, and you lied about it." Like, you are entrapping yourself, and they're asking you to not be honest, right? For all of these press releases that say, like, "We want to tell authentic stories about blah 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 blah," like, unless you're the actor, then we
Hire
want you
better
to lie
writers.
to meet our stand. Yeah,
Hire better writers.
or just stop forcing this issue.
Also, you do not have to read the next one.
Oh yeah, I'm not going
It
to.
is
It's
very
creepy.
You
Get
can,
some help,
you can
sir.
read the one after that though.
Steve Ryman says, "Why does Ariel wear seashells? She outgrews the bees."
That's clever.
funny.
All right, we're moving on. So, believe it or not, eventually in 20 years, there will be no new actors because they're just going to de-age and bring back every old actor,
speaking
right?
of stealing roles from other actors,
Exactly.
it turns out that the oldest class of Hollywood is just going to stay on forever. They're going to work until they absolutely don't want to anymore because they're being digitally de-aged, which
Yep.
I think is so funny.
De Niro will just be acting until he's 200 years old.
Yeah, seriously. Well, and then they're selling their likenesses. So not only do they get to stay on forever, but they don't even need to be there at a certain point. They will still collect a paycheck. So the examples here are Patrick Stewart and Ian McClellan in different early 2000s movies.
Yep.
Then Robert Downey Jr. in Captain America, Civil War.
That one's
2016.
interesting because they used him for the modeling. They didn't just do it whole hog. They actually de-aged him on screen, so he did the role. And it's really funny because I was watching that. It doesn't. I love that movie, Civil War. I love Winter Soldier more, but in that role, it feels when you're watching it. Basically, in that scene, it's like a holographic projection of him with the last time he ever saw his dad.
Okay.
And his mom or his mom or his dad, like before his parents died, right? And basically the idea was like, in this projection, he's showing it to a bunch of MIT students, or it might have been Caltech, one of these colleges, and he's showing this technology developed where he's able to like reenact it and then like change basically what happened. It's like a therapy session for himself. And it doesn't feel like 16-year-old Robert Downey Jr. or 16-year-old Tony Stark. It feels like 35-year-old or 40 or 50-year-old Tony Stark that's been de-aged in a way. Like almost like his...
But especially if you were like going through the lens of therapy, it would be your older self reflecting back on this. So basically, they're using CGI to make these actors look younger for the roles that they're in.
Yeah.
And I could not help but draw a parallel to this TikTok beauty filter that's gone completely viral. It's called Bold Glamour. Glamour spelled the British way. And
with a U.
With a U. And it's basically so advanced and so good that it's very difficult to tell if it's fake or not, to the point where like if you have a filter on and you rub your hand in front of your face, it'll glitch, it'll move, it won't stay exactly the same. This one won't. This one will make you look perfect. It makes you look like you're wearing makeup, so obviously done up, but it's in that sense even more believable, right? It's not like you're just pretending you have naturally intensely sculpted
There's literally an
cheekbones.
Instagram filter called No Filter that's the filteriest filter that you've ever seen.
Yeah.
But it's called No Filter.
Probably for the irony, which I respect. But in both of these scenarios, we have this TikTok filter and then we have this CGI attempt to make all of our immortal actors look young forever. There is such a strange, disingenuous nature. Like, do we celebrate the technology because we have advanced to be able to do these things? Or do we say, hey, we have to draw a line somewhere, and as a culture, we shouldn't stand by setting these crazy, unrealistic expectations that people never age?
What do you think the answer is here?
What do you ask? I posed the question. What do you think? I can't even talk now.
It's weird. I think it's different for a guy because aging for men is held to a different standard than women. I point this out a lot, like, especially in Hollywood. Men grow into their faces, women grow out of them, meaning that you look at Tom Cruise or any other, a good is Mark, I don't even know how to pronounce his last name. The guy who plays Quinn in Into the Badlands, it's like Mark Kasakis or something like that. He was in The Bourne Supremacy and he was probably 30, getting closer to 40 in that role, like mid 30s. He looks like a child compared.
Really?
But now he's in like his 50s, going on 60, and he is in his prime as far as like his face. Like part of it has to do with like, I guess, like, do you have facial hair and stuff like that? But for men, you tend to grow into your best look, and women, that peaks when they're younger. So this type of filter is more attractive for women than it is for men. I don't ever want to go back to having a baby face. I don't. Like I'm fine with my face now.
There are Hollywood actors who like finally get cast in their big thing when they are old enough to look like a middle-aged dad.
Yeah.
Like when they are auditioning, when they're 21 and fresh of face, they don't look the part. They don't look right.
Exactly.
They have to age into the roles that they are ultimately going to be successful in.
Whatever they make movies about, men have to age into.
Yeah.
Women are beautiful, and they tell stories about young, beautiful women.
I mean, in some ways, this technology is interesting because you're right. Like, if we have a flashback scene and we have that actor on hand, rather than trying to cast someone to look vaguely close enough to what we think they would look like, maybe it would be better to just have, especially this high-dollar famous actor, play the part. On the other hand, that is technically taking away a role from a younger actor who could really use the credit of saying, I was in this movie, right? Like, the idea that teenage Robert Downey Jr. is there is, I guess, good, especially since it's about technology. On the other hand, his potential lookalike, who could really use this as a jumping off point for his career, doesn't get that role. Like, if we keep these same people there but aging backwards forever, there's no reason to try and expand the cast pool. But maybe that's good. I honestly don't know how I feel about it.
The argument would be that, look, if more actors had bigger names, they wouldn't need to keep doing this. They could just hire actors with bigger profiles. This happens in skating all the time. Like,
Really?
there are like
They digitally de-age skaters?
Not for that, but like, look, the best have been the best for a long time because they reached peaks, that levels that other people just weren't able to meet. And for a lot of years, those same people were at the top of the chart. We're still the ones getting pro skates. We're still the ones with all the sponsorships because there weren't people that were developing bigger names in the industry. And are you supposed to be mad at them for still being the best? No, you can't. So am I supposed to be mad at Robert Downey Jr. or let's say Robert De Niro for being de-aged in The Irishman or whatever movies they were de-aged in? No, because certain actors have gravitas and performances that other directors are going to be keen to work with. And as the technology becomes more available and you can, like, imagine you're a young director who wanted to work with Robert De Niro in his prime. And now there's a technology that allows you to work with him as if you were working with him when he was 45 and not 70.
But isn't it interesting too that we're not de-aging them honestly, right? Like we are making them look really good for a younger age. Like there is a part of me that wonders, like, if I'm a 100-year-old actor and I'm still good and popular, but I just want to look better, like at what point are they just kind of touching me up cosmetically and I am falsely presenting who I am to the world?
There's plenty of makeup going on to these people that make them look younger. Also, it's really funny if you watch things, characters and actors that don't smile a lot look younger too because they're not wrinkling their face as much. Like literally, like, not that I mean, I smile a lot on the show, but like,
a happy guy.
but in general, a plain face looks younger.
Because you're fighting against wrinkles.
Yes, exactly.
Well,
so
that's good of you.
I refuse to smile from now on for the sake of looking young forever.
It's an investment in your future.
Exactly.
I get you. I mean, I just think this is an interesting crux of ethical behavior and technology, right? Like, is it fair to have these ways of altering your face, whether it's TikTok beauty filters or de-aging in Hollywood, that present you in a light where you look better, even though it's maybe not realistic?
I mean, but they always look better. They always look better.
Sure. But like, at what point do we accept that, like, we are built on a foundation of lies? Like, you talk about, like, men will talk about they'll be on dating apps, they'll meet a girl, she'll look beautiful to meet her in person. She doesn't really look like that. And it's because she's got the angle of her phone, she's taking her picture, and she's wearing a lot of makeup.
Men just got to learn. Men have to learn the catfish camera angles and learn what to look for. Up and to the right, gentlemen, no go.
Brett's got advice for you. New podcast. Brett gives advice on how to make Tinder work for you. No, but at what point are we just saying, like, we don't expect anyone to be honest with us? Because that's what I'm really interested in.
I don't expect anyone to be honest
with us. And that's the thing. Like, we are an increasingly less trusting society, and it has negative effects all across the board. To that end, like, I guess we have this technology and we should use it. On the other hand, at what point are we just allowing ourselves to give up on the expectation that some people have to be honest about what they look like?
Nothing is real anymore.
Nothing is real.
Even just think about this. Back in the day, when you had a Polaroid, look, we take Polaroids of guests here, right? Back in the day, you didn't take a look at your photo and then take another one. You took that photo. Like, we used to take photos of us doing dangerous skating tricks and just hope it
hide them from your mom.
But on film cameras, hope it came out. No clue if it did until you went and got the film developed. You didn't have the opportunity to take that photo in. I would argue that every single person who has a phone that takes a picture of themselves, how many times does a person take a picture of themselves on their phone and use the first one they took a photo of without taking another one?
I don't know. Someone who's really self-confident, right? And and has very steady hands.
But I'm saying, but first of all, we're inherently lying because we're looking for the best version of ourselves to take that photo. But also, you lose a lot of the joy that comes from what photography and videography is supposed to be. So it's like when you took pictures with Polaroids, the joy was that you caught something in the moment, and when you look back at it, you didn't have retakes. So your memories of it are more pure. Now you're like, well, that's just a curated version of what I think is the best of the photos we took. And then you start second guessing yourself. Was it as good as I remember? Or did I just get the best photo that I could possibly take? Back in the day, you just had whatever photo you took. And if your memories are inherently positive, then you have positive thoughts connected to it.
Yeah.
And that's connected not to taking 1,000 retries of the photo. It's of the moment, not the picture. Right. The moment was what mattered, not the picture. With acting, it's a little different. Look, aesthetic matters. If aesthetics didn't matter. Anyone could get hired just by talent alone. There's plenty of amazing actors that are unfortunate to look at.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what, like, they have
There's
roles
a
too.
reason they're there.
And they have roles too. Look, I used to make the joke. I was like, look, this podcast, I certainly have a face for radio. That
Ha ha ha! You're so funny.
the point is that it's an aesthetic industry.
Yeah, I think part of it is with the advent of plastic surgery, which has been around for a long time. It's just more ubiquitously used by young celebrities, both of the Instagram
And
variety
earlier.
and of acting or sort of a traditional medium. People look more homogeneously than they ever did. So when you watch older movies, especially black and white, like there are some really gorgeous people. There are some people that you're like, you actually look kind of average, but you're a really good actor. Like there's more variety there for me. Now all of the beautiful people look the same. And I think that has a lot to do with, surgical intervention.
Yeah.
And that is what sort of starts to bother me. And
Kanye
so,
West's new wife looks just like Kim.
all of them. They all look the same because they all go to the same doctors, or at least doctors who are very similar, and ask for the same kinds of procedures.
Yep.
And into that,
It's a shame.
right? And to that end, like we are saying, we want all kinds of diversity in people or in how they identify or whatever. But then homogenous, we want them to sort of take on homogenous looks in terms of physical appearance, both in the face and in the body, right? Like it just bothers me. There's nothing anyone can do about it. I just don't like it.
Yeah.
And to that end, like when you're de-aging people, you're probably de-aging them all in the same way. These
Yeah,
beauty filters are trying to give you the same, there's lots of critiques of Western beauty standards, right? Like
Yeah.
it's unfair to have European beauty standards that if you're not of European descent, you can't measure up to, which
Yeah,
is like,
but-
that makes logical sense
But
to me.
here in the West, we in a lot of ways fetishize exoticism. So like when you're the joke is like a $20 bill in your wallet is just a $20 bill.
Mm-hmm.
A $20 bill on the ground is a mythical thing that you don't see very often.
I've only seen it once.
Exactly. I had a time once where I found 5 separate $5 bills in like less
Someone
than a
carrying
week.
one of those
Was
like money sack bags with
basically,
a
yeah,
dollar
like-
bill has like a rip in it and they're running down
It's
the
got
street.
like the fishing.
You're
the
like,
fishing
what's
line.
happening?
But here in America, like somebody, an Israeli actress or an actress from South America, or Salma Hayek is a unique beauty. Therefore, they stand out here. So they kind of get judged on a different standard, but they have an advantage in a lot of ways because they will get sought out and casted for roles where they're looking for exotic imagery.
Yeah, but then they'll say, I only got typecast as this kind
Yeah,
of character. I mean,
or
there's
we did the
no
thing,
making people happy. I just want to point out that like we push people to look the same, and to a certain extent, that's what all of these things are doing. Like we are not accepting that our aging actors are aging, and I get it. Like maybe you need them for a role.
So now
but
they're all
also-
getting buckle fat removed.
right, and they're all going to do it in the exact same way. Like we don't see diversity because we refuse to let it happen, because we refuse to let people age naturally, and we refuse to let people have a beauty standard that just goes with what actually makes them look good. Like
Amelia Clark has been in the news recently for not getting surgery and taking pictures of herself without makeup on.
yeah,
and
which like crazy that's like so brave and
that's
beautiful.
rare and brave.
But on the other hand, like if her career is her face,
Yeah.
I could understand like advertising that you are aging
that's
in
your
a
moneymaker.
youth-centric industry is really dangerous.
You at least understand why they get the surgeries because it's their business. It's literally it's why the men are all in, like, people talk about how like the standards have lowered for actors as far as looks. The men are all still in fantastic. Like you watch the average network television
and I
show.
don't think they have lowered. I just think they've shifted. We have like different typecasts now.
Well, and they'll give jobs to people that don't necessarily meet the same beauty standards. I was watching an old episode of like Elementary recently, and there's this actor who's just got this hilarious mustache. He's not a traditionally handsome guy. He probably is with the mustache shaved, whatever. But then like the scenes of him without a shirt on, he's like ripped beyond belief. But you never see, like, that just happens to be one role. It's not like he's typecast as like a buff dude,
Yeah.
but he's in really good shape.
but he doesn't have the buff dude face. And
No,
so
well,
therefore-
actually, he kind of does.
Oh, he does.
But he
Interesting.
looks very Russian, so he probably just gets cast as Russians all the time. But for a lot of this stuff, it's like Dina Meyer. Dina Meyer is she's an older actress now. She was in Starship Troopers as well. We talked about Starship Troopers on Friday. Look, she's also apparently like low key based. She follows like Turning Point on
That's turning point,
Instagram.
though. Let's very low key.
In Hollywood, that's as close as you
Whoa.
get to based. Is turning point in PragerU. She's also old, so.
Everyone has their place to their role to play, you know.
But she leans into the fact that she's getting older, but she's extremely active. Like she goes with her phone and like records herself at dance classes and stuff like that. And I love it. Like she leans into it, but she's still beautiful. She's just beautiful for a woman who's older.
Yeah. Well, and I think we just push these crazy standards for people. Like the idea that, I guess with the de-aging stuff, like at what point are they just doing it not for, oh, he's playing a flashback, but because we cast him and he's looking older than we kind of would like
Well,
him
they've
to.
done that with Robert De Niro
Right.
and Pacino.
And to a certain extent, like we are just saying, like you will never, ever, ever be the way we want you to be, and we can't accept that like people are aging. Like we push all of these women to look a certain way, and some facial structures don't look that way, and we can't get away from it. Again, I think Hollywood wants this homogenous look, and they have, like, you ever see those?
Unless you're
those-
Lizzo.
Well, you see those the memes of like it's got Katy Perry in it, but also like Zooey Deschanel. It's a bunch of girls
There's
with like,
also the
big
one with
round
the-
blue eyes
yeah.
and like dark hair, and they're like somebody's dad has to explain something. But it's interesting that they're all in Hollywood, all being pushed to like be the quirky girl with the dark hair and the big eyes. Like
There's
all
like
end up
4
looking
Margot
similar.
Robbies.
Right, exactly. Like you could mix
there's
them
that
up.
lady who was in Death on the Nile who looks exactly like literally exactly like her.
Yeah.
Like, they could be twins.
Well, and that's because they're like
Who is just Jessie? What's her? I forget. She's just another one of of Jamie Presley, Jamie Presley.
sounds
like
real.
like she's just another one of that. It's that blonde, high cheekbones.
Well, and they'll say like, do the work, get the injections, make yourself look as young as possible. But those things ultimately, like, they talk about this Kylie Jenner, and I feel weird about beating this point too much, but all of the fillers that she's had in her face are already shifting, and she's like, what, 24, 25?
They're
like,
gonna pay for it down the line.
she's got years and decades to live, and these things aren't gonna be good forever. Like, I think we just give these very strange, if you can pay for beauty, that's the beauty that we want, instead of saying like, people are going to get older and we're just going to let it happen. I don't know.
It's funny too, because like and when I say that about men, I don't mean all men. Like that all men age into their face perfectly.
Not all men, Brett.
Yes, but no, because I was watching I was looking at some of the still images for. I've been rewatching Justified. Justified's one of my favorite shows of all time.
Okay.
Do you know who Timothy Oliphant is?
Nope.
The actor. Okay.
That's a great name.
Isn't it though? It's a freaking great name. Well, Nick Searcy was in it. Nick Searcy was here at Did IRL.
Okay.
But Timothy Oliphant is about the same age as that actor I mentioned earlier, Martin Kasakis or whatever his name is. And Timothy Oliphant has aged a little bit out of his face in the same way.
Aged out of his own face.
Like, but I'm saying, but if he grew his facial hair another couple of inches, it would go away completely. Just like Keanu Reeves. People say Keanu Reeves doesn't age. When he shaves, if you saw the Bill and Ted 3, when he shaves, you see the aging in his face more than you see it. But it's just, the beard just hides it, right? Paul Rudd doesn't age. Paul Rudd, for the most part,
but he does have smile lines. Like
is a vampire.
He's done a good job, but he doesn't. He has some signs of aging. They're just like, I don't know. Some people age really hard because they're like super into drugs and alcohol,
and
then
plenty
they
of
lay in
these
a
men are
tanning
getting
bed.
plenty of these men are also getting plastic surgery. Let's not get it
tons
twisted.
of them are. It's just not to the extremes that women are. Women get plastic surgery to make their face do things that it naturally doesn't do. Men get surgery to like draw out some aspects. It's much more subtle, I guess.
Yeah. Well, who do you like? Can you think of any? Like Denzel Washington looks great for his age too. Still, like if you look at Denzel Washington now, he still looks really good for his.
I would say Hugh Laurie honestly looks great, but
Yes.
I suspect he's gotten some.
no, but also the facial hair. When he gets the stubble, it works for him.
Yeah.
Better.
He already played like a cranky old doctor who was addicted to Vicodin, so
Yeah.
he knows how to age
That's-
gracefully.
well,
Thank
that's-
you.
It's really fun. He's one of those actors that. Walton Goggins is one. I wanted to find a picture of Timothy Oliphant in that the sequence from Justified, City of Primeval, and I wanted to see if you see what I'm saying about him aging. But I could be wrong. I might be judgmental. Maybe I won't do
Send
that.
it to me
I'm
later.
being a little bit judgmental here. But Timothy Oliphant is a great actor,
Yeah.
so it doesn't matter. It is what it is. But another thing is like women don't have the facial hair option. I mean, I guess they could have the facial hair option, but they.
Well, look, facial hair is contour for men, right? Like
Yeah.
women have contour sticks and bronzers and highlighters and blush to try and make
Yeah.
their face look differently. Like
There's
men
the
have
meme
beards, and
of-
this is the way it is.
The meme of the guy who's got the really long beard, and then when he shaves it, he has like no chin.
Yeah,
And that's- yeah.
I there are men who have beards, and I'm like, I don't think you have a jaw. I think that's it, and that's okay. I just feel like if you're dating someone seriously and he always has a beard, you have to make him shave it at least once so you can like check out the face. You know what I'm saying?
I have not. Every time I shave, I immediately regret it. I hate it.
I just feel like you seem like more your personality with a beard. You don't look bad without one. You just seem yourself with a beard, and that's different.
Busted Caps, right? I am being very judgy right now. I apologize
Welcome
for that.
to Pop Culture Crisis with Brett.
Timothy
always a
Oliphant
little bit of
is still a fantastic actor. He was also in Scream 2, the highest grossing of the
It
Scream.
all comes full
It all
circle.
comes full
Oh my
circle.
gosh.
Look, Christian Bale, Jared Leto, also guys that don't really age them. Christian Bale's aged a little bit, but
I mean, people should age, right? We're not like selling plastic Ken dolls. I think this is crazy.
so what do you think do you think the answer is just put different actors in those roles, or is there a moral imperative for these actors to not take the role because they're taking the role from someone else?
I don't know. Honestly, all of it is just me. Sometimes stuff catches my eye because I feel like I just have to like be aware that this is happening, right? I feel
And how
like
it's shifting
there
your
are-
perspective.
Right, and there are some people who are gonna watch Robert De Niro in whatever movie, and that's gonna be their only exposure to him, and they're gonna be like, "Wow, he looks great for his age." And it's like, yes, thanks to the computers. Like, it's not real, and I don't think that's. It doesn't have to be bad, but we should be honest about it. The same way that there were girls on TikTok being like, "This beauty filter should be illegal because it's so dishonest." Even though I look great, it is not real. Like, I think we just need to be aware that these things are happening. Otherwise, it's easy for Hollywood to let you forget. It gets memory hold, and they're like, "Oh, well, we've been doing this for years." And when you feel like it's false advertising, they're like, "But you didn't complain when it initially rolled out."
And as
I
more
can't
and-
say that it's like we should never use this technology. I just feel like we should be aware it's happening.
And as more and more of our lives take place in front of screens, this will become more and more prevalent.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. All right. We got a couple of super chats, so let's just read those last ones.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay. Monkey D. Shane says, "So take my money, but don't read my chat."
Well, it was
probably
kind of-
because you're being perverted.
It's kind of rude. It was
Yeah,
kind
it's
of rude.
not a gentlemanly type thing to say, but you know, sorry
And
about that, buddy.
We've got one more.
Bobcat says, "HC, how close are you to finishing those movies?" Yes, the Fast and the Furious.
you were
quest
hoping
continues.
they weren't gonna.
I thought we'd make it. Bobcat's selling me out here. I'm not finished watching the movies, but I am making glacier-like progress, and I'll update you as soon as possible.
And then we got one more.
Steve Ryman says, "Remember when Rosemary Harris played
Yeah.
Aunt May in the Maguire Spidey films? It is getting more difficult to find women in Hollywood who look 70. Yeah, it's because they've all been told you need to get this surgery to make your career last as long as possible, and then their faces don't age correctly.
It's really funny too because then all of they age down Aunt May in the new Spider-Man
Really?
movies.
Oh yeah, she's like
Marissa Tomei,
45 or
so
something.
then all of the memes were like creepy, like Aunt May Home Alone, like Spider-Man Home Alone, because it's just pictures of like Aunt May. But the best was it was Tobey Maguire. I'm sorry, it was Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. It says when she's Aunt May, but not your Aunt May. And
Oh
it's
my
him,
gosh.
and it's him doing the Spider-Man dance from Spider-Man 3. And then another one, it's Doc Ock like abducting her, and it's like Doc Ock when he's abducting the old Aunt May, and he just looks really stone-faced. Doc Ock once he's abducting this Aunt May, and he's like, yeah,
well, that's great. I'm loving what we're embracing our creepiness.
and Tomei is only like she's like in her mid 50s or something like that, but they really aged her down. She's barely, granted, I guess Aunt May in the other ones is very much it's Grandma May basically, but she's very old in those.
It's a different vibe. It's a different generation of Aunt May.
Exactly. All right, Hannah Claire, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been a blast as always.
Let everyone know where they can find you.
You can find me first off on Timcast News, and you can follow Timcast News at Timcast News on Twitter and Instagram. You see stuff from me, from Chris Bertman, some other people who come on this show sometimes. It's great. You can follow me personally on Twitter at HC Brimolo. And look, listen, you can follow me personally on Instagram at hannahclaire.b.
Not BB.
Single B. The other one's fake. Report it for me. That would be great. I don't know why Instagram won't take it down. It's a creepy copy of my Instagram. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for your time, and thanks for having me on.
Perfect. Guys, before we go, could you like this video? Could you leave a comment on this video? Could you subscribe to this channel? Could you go and tell Mary you're happy that she's going to be back tomorrow and tell her what a good job she did on the Whatever podcast? Tomorrow, Hannah Claire will be joining us again with Carter. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to grill Mary about her time on the Whatever podcast and tell her thank you for making fun of all those Instagram thoughts. Guys, subscribe to the channel, like this video. If you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Brett Dasovic. There are no false accounts of me, thank goodness. So there's nobody pretending to be me. So that's good. I don't have that problem going on right now.
I'm just a star. What can I tell you? I'm just like the most fascinating Instagram influencer of all time.
Exactly. Guys, for the show, we are here Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. If you want to listen to this podcast, it's on Amazon Music, Apple Podcast, Pandora, and Spotify. And if you'd like to follow this show on social media, we are on Twitter at PopCulture_show, Facebook and TikTok at Pop Culture Crisis, and on Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. We'll be back with another episode tomorrow. See you then, guys.
Bye.